What is up? Welcome, misfits one and all, to this episode of Call Me Skeptical. Does revelation happen? Jesus, is that you? Oh. Yes, that is my yoga teacher. Tonight we are opening up the internet phone lines to see if anyone can help us understand, does revelation happen? Or rather, does a God communicate information to humans? So won't you join James W. and myself, Amy Newman, as we have some divinely inspired fun? What is up, everyone out there joining us on the intertubes? Holy moly. I would like to remind everyone to please like, follow, or subscribe, because then you gain access to that all button icon that will help you send reminders and see our premieres or join our live streams. Ooh. That's right. Hello there, interwebs.
Got all the cool people in here tonight.
That's right. In fact, during the show, feel free to tag James W. or myself in chat at Amy Newman with your thoughts, questions, or, of course, one-liners, because it makes us easier to see your comment. That's right. Just for specifically the vegetarian birds of the world ever since they converted post-Noah. Furthermore, we are a skeptic channel, including the two schmucks that you see before you. What is up, Rainbug? However, Call Me Skeptical is specifically looking for views that don't agree with your own. So if you fit the bill, then the link to join the show will soon head into chat and on screen. We also do love people who agree with us, atheists, skeptics, and science-minded people. Though, if you think the world is 6,000 years old, that evolution is a hoax. No, really, I can connect the dots. It was a star in 6,000 years. It makes sense. Or that the world is flat.
Oh.
Well, then, OG Willigers, you should speak to us right away. Tonight's housekeeping.
The theist helpline.
That's right.
If you are Darth Dawkins, if you are Canadian Catholic,
call us right now.
Come back to the inner circle.
That's right. Please. We have a seat for you back on the Council of the Inner Circle Atheists. Jay Robin, who I saw a shout out to on the line, I believe, tonight. Another fantastic non-believer channel. But they were taking none of his nonsense, because pre-suppers, they're just like, here is the definition that is going to assume a God. This has to be your definition, correct? And you're like, no. And they're like, no, really. It has to be this. Okay, what's your metaphysical grounding? Oh, well, actually, since metaphysics isn't a thing, and that's what you're trying to prove, nothing. Go prove that.
Oh, but no, you still have to have a metaphysical grounding. Oh, you reject metaphysics.
Well, I guess I don't know what to do except for do. Because yes, pre-suppers
gotta have faith.
Can't defend their own positions, and they just need to pre-assume it. But sending love. In fact, this
Yeah,
housekeeping
we're two
is
different people,
sponsored
Grandbug.
by our Patreons at patreon.com/Amy Newman, which helps us make even more fun content, including awesome Patreons like us from the Atheist Roundtable.
Thanks us.
Generally speaking, Tangang Yo, because the non-believer community does it hashtag better, and they can be found at youtube.com/the Atheist Roundtable, as well as Ian Davenport.
Ian, who is in chat. Hey, Ian.
I know, I saw.
Thank you all. Thank you, Ian.
And sending love, as I don't know. It just doesn't look like a watch to me. It just looks
or painting.
Or a paint, exactly.
A Chevy.
And they always seem surprised when they're like, well, what do you think we are then? Naturally occurring. Natural process.
What did Ken say the other day? Oh, look at this coffee cup. You could tell it was designed with the handle on the side. You could just look at this coffee cup and tell it was designed. Look at your body, how much more complicated it is. You would never think in a million years a coffee cup could make itself out of clay, but yeah.
Yes, and then they always, or the lovely phrase is, you think that we came from nothing. No, I don't think that's what any scientist. Please find me the scientist, except for they use the tongue-in-cheek Lawrence Krauss-Bach, which was only after 20 years of creationists or longer of creationists making that straw man that he finally made a tongue-in-cheek joke. But no, there is no scientist saying that we came from nothing. Also, only if you have permission.
But Amy, I've got this middle school science textbook from the 1970s, and it says maybe nothing.
Lord. That is my favorite thing about a Kent Hovind debate is you could freeze frame it, and I could ask, when do you think this video's from? And it would be hard pressed unless you saw maybe an opposition viewpoint. If you knew it was a video from recently or, the 70s. Because he used cutting-edge science, just like you said. Yeah. Cutting edge.
This 6th grade science book from 1975 says the universe was smaller than a dot on a page. You couldn't squeeze a gallon of milk that small, and you think the whole universe was that small?
I know. So ridiculous. Yeah. In fact, when we hear young Earth creationist claims, it makes a grumpy old cuss. And all of the skeptics go bleep, bleep, bleep. Because, I don't understand any of the logistics. Creationists, like flat earthers, they never offer the same model. They always just want to be like, look, we're just asking questions. It's not that we are putting forth our own model. It's just that we're skeptical, and they try to hijack the skeptic label.
Skeptical
of evolution, the Big Bang, the Earth getting warmer. No, it's just science. But sending love to Grumpy, and also,
thank you, Grumpy.
As we read these different holy books, it just becomes aware how much that they valued 51% of the society. Sending love to 3 princesses in love, Diana Smith.
Thank you, Diana.
But that's okay. Every once in a while, they actually include women before the other animals, the livestock and stuff. So at least they throw
not always. Not always.
Somewhere. Yeah, not always. That's true.
Not always.
And it's so funny. Even in slavery, sometimes they're like, whoa.
Oh, thank you.
Male servant, female servant. Like they can't. Even in slavery, you can't be equal. Somehow, there's a more people are more equal than others. Thank you, religion. But also, sending love to the resident archaeologist. Sending love to Pat Lewinger.
Hey, Pat.
Who's done many fantastic episodes of Talk Skeptic to us. And also in pre-production for more. Check out, how sacredness came to be. And the answer seems to be, well, hey, if we remove this religion, or sometimes the religion just leaves or fizzes out, we can just put in a new tub of paint. It's like bath fitter. All right. It's a perfectly new religion. You won't even notice the sacredness of the last one.
There you go.
But sending love to Cat
Prepackaged
Willinger, who
version.
can be found at youtube.com/BiddyBuddha_, because Biddy Buddha is fantastic, lovely, and she was just doing an awesome
She was
stream.
just in chat.
So what?
Yeah, she's out there.
Love
Hey,
to
Biddy.
Biddy. What is up? So go check out. Why aren't you checking out all of this fantastic non-believer content? Woohoo!
It's like atheist version of Netflix.
Exactly. And I'll say it as often as I can. We don't schism. Like it doesn't matter if you are an atheist, agnostic, an agnostic atheist, or anything that you label yourself. Chances are, if you are Team Science, we are. I mean, how hard is it to believe that the world is not 6,000 years old? And let me tell you, folks, there's a very big difference between 6,000 and 4.5 billion. If I said you're getting $6,000 tomorrow, and then I said, hey, actually, I meant 4.5 billion, do you see just the slight difference? No,
Just a little difference.
Makes total sense. But sending love to Pat and Biddy and Dale Pastel, who's asking,
Thank you, Pat.
all we're really asking for is empirical evidence. A little bit of empirical evidence. Doesn't have to be a lot. In fact, what normally happens is a lot of nonsense on why that has to be cut from the slate altogether. That's cheating, actually, if you're asking for empirical evidence.
Is it?
Somehow. Oh, apparently. Because then you'd be testing God or something, about all-powerful becoming maximally powerful, which I think is actually the ribbed version of God. I think that's how that works. Something like that. But, yeah, sending Dale love to Dale Pastel.
God's in drag today.
Oh, my. Hey, we don't kink shame no one here.
Not even God.
Not even God. And my joke is always that you ever want to make a religious person into a postmodernist, just ask them what gender their God is. All of a sudden, they get very academic. Like, can you really talk about gender? What is gender? I'm like, great, you're on board. Welcome.
Oh, it's kind of close to Bob Larson the other day asking the devil what gender he was.
Well, that does seem like something that would definitely be on the devil's mind. Between planting fossils, of course. It's a very busy job.
Of course, Bob there forcing the devil to admit that he is in fact a male and then bow to him as a man. Yeah. Actually, had the woman get down on her knees.
Whatever kind of yaoi you're
Bob.
into. Oh, okay. Damn it.
Yeah.
Okay, that too. No. We're open we're all couples here. Whatever Yahweh's into. Maybe he's just experimenting. Sending love to Dale Pastel. And also Davegar, who reminds us that, many of this Abrahamic, if not really all three of the Abrahamic texts, depending on your interpretation and your context, James, it's all about the context, is a flat earth book, even though, I don't know. If I may say, she looks pretty thick. I don't know.
Yeah, they should have known better, but hey, the Bible says that the wise men will be fools and the be wise, so hey, there you go.
Exactly. And you just got to believe it on faith. That's really, when you don't have evidence, that's actually when it's the most faithful.
You'll be rewarded greater because you didn't have that evidence, but you believed it anyway.
And what I really like is it's like a point
system.
Exactly. Gizmo's like, I don't know if I'm buying this. And sending love to Regis, who actually reminds us we have a fantastic skeptical Bible study where we are in Deuteronomy. And so far, God has actually, I think, killed 2 versions of interfaith couples. Like, he did it once, and then he's like, hey, what if we just did like we did it once as like an experiment. What if we took it on the road and did like all the nations around us? And they did. They took their act on the road, and it was to die for.
It might be a retelling of the same event. That does happen a couple times in the Old Testament, one of the writers, and it's usually that damn priestly source. He reads one of the things that the other one write. He wants to modify it because he didn't feel like they gave enough reverence to the priesthood, so he writes it, but he throws Aaron's name in there, whatever. Oh, hey, Atheist Junior.
Gotta do a shout out. Zeke, what is up, Atheist Junior? Woohoo! More, speaking of lovely non-believer content, who can be found at youtube.com/Atheist Junior. Woohoo!
Mandatory watching.
Except, who, if I could say, is the doctor of taking Kent Hovind down.
He does it better.
Those are better with a glass of water. Sending love and also sending love. Do. As I do jazz hands.
Hey, Titan.
What is up, Titan Uranus? Who I just generally love to say his
you and
name
us both.
Yes, exactly. And also sending love to not just jazz hands, sending love to Rachel. Oh, TOS gods? No, I'm okay. Thank you, TOS gods. You always look up. Sometimes you should look down. Thank you, TOS gods.
Did we do Scott Duke?
Oh, that's well. Sending love to Rachel, who reminds us that, well, the Bible would never objectively support unconsensual slavery. It wouldn't, just go around the nations and kill all of the men and then take all of the women and children and the livestock around them for themselves.
Buy them from the nations around you,
Because it's a loving God.
I mean, hey, they're selling them. You might as well buy a few of them, right?
Exactly.
Somebody's gonna buy them. Might as well be us.
And honestly, that it's something that you won't be able to criticize thousands of years later. So that's why I like it.
I mean, if you want to criticize the word of God, that's on you.
Exactly. Who are you to criticize God except an actual agent that we can prove? Once again, if you're using the word being or agent, the only people who can actually judge things that we have knowledge of is us, not the flying 24/7, 365 omniscient being that they are claiming is watching us. But they can provide evidence for that.
There you go.
And also sending love.
Somebody will.
To the lead hyena of the pack, who reminds us it has nothing to do with being a vegetarian, an omnivore, or a carnivore. If you think that magic poofed animals into existence and that's how they got there, I got bad news for you. You're wrong. And Scott Duke says the same thing. Sending love to Scott Duke.
Thank you, Scott.
Oh, my lordy. And it's funny because you can see that they look down on other animals. Literally, I've heard people who say we were given dominion over them, just like they were given dominion over the planet. And so that's why they don't care. Not to get too totally hippie on people, but one of the reasons why you don't think that you should protect the planet is because you have like a plan B, which is after the apocalypse and everyone dies, you're going to go to the super happy fun place. Whew, that's not good for everybody else.
God's in control, Amy. Jesus, take the wheel. God's not going to let anything happen. Because he's got to come down and rule the earth for 1,000 years, like it says in Revelation. Come on. He'll fix the climate. Don't worry about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm also sure that's when the zombies come back to Israel. I'm like psyched for it. Everyone comes back to life.
Before that, yeah.
Yes. I always like zombie movies.
Oh well,
all for it.
You'll get to be in a zombie movie before God sends you to hell.
Oh boy. Oh, and I always love the threats of hell, because if you have, it's such a Saw-like game. If your only criteria is knowledge, and then they meet you and you finally have empirical evidence, because being right in front of them is kind of empirical if you could be face to face.
Pretty much, yeah.
It's kind of a dick to then torture them forever. Forever. Loving God. Loving.
What's up, suckers? I'm real. Joke's on you. Fuck.
Yeah. Oh, no. And people can't appreciate, once again, they can't appreciate Tom. I mean, it's like 6,000 years old, a billion, what the ever. How about forever? And they can't appreciate how much forever. And they always try to bring up the worst people. But the worst people in the world, generally, it's not just because of non-belief. If it's like a speeding ticket and non-belief, and those are the only two things you did in your life, I feel like
I don't think the worst person in the world would burn forever. Would be just, that would be infinitely excessive.
Speaking of justice, sending love, last but certainly not least, to Senator Cato. Woohoo!
Welcome aboard, Senator.
Yes, sending love. Thanks for the support, and of course, reminding us to protect the separation of church and state, something that I assume religious fundamentalists would never attack. And so I don't even know why we're doing this podcast, James. Especially in places like the United States of America.
Yeah, we're just chilling, you know.
Exactly. In fact, we're sending love to all of
atheist
our
overlords.
We are sending love to everyone in chat, our mods, and of course, viewers like you. And all right.
Gizmo's watching.
That's right. Before we get into the calls, we are going to just have our opening statements, but I will tee up the link if you would like to join us. We are doing one-on-one, so to speak, conversations tonight, and so going one at a time with, of course, a actual priority for people who disagree with our own views. With that,
if you agree with us, you might sit back there for a little bit if we're talking to somebody.
But we still love you. Come on board.
We do love you.
And just listen while we have some fun conversation. The link's going out there. But before we do that and hear from the opposing view.
Oh, boy.
Gizmo's like, I'm ready.
Cue it up.
Cue it up. Does revelation happen? Specifically, the kind of the divine? Well, no. That's because we have no good evidence to believe a God, one, many, or otherwise, is communicating information to people. Let's start with Moses, Noah, and the other patriarchs of the Torah. They didn't exist. So it's hard to get revelation from God when you're too busy not being real. Which is a really bad start. Though Jesus may have been a dude, or at least one to many rabbis who then became mythology. But did he talk to a God? No. In fact, a God didn't seem to come to his aid at all. And the Jews don't think he fulfilled their prophecy. You know, the one of getting their homeland back, though a little retcon and some help from Paul, who also didn't talk to God or slash Jesus or however they label him, because this event was 50 years after the fact. Put into perspective for millennials and below, that is like someone from the 2000s claiming they met a ghost of someone from the 1950s. No. But sell it to Hollywood. Maybe, who you gonna call? Not Paul. Moving forward, Muhammad did not get revelation from God. The Quran did not come from the angel Gabriel, because angels do not exist. Not to mention, like the Christians, with a little more creative interpretation, they too believe in the patriarchs of old who did not exist. Ooh, which is a bad start to an ending. Though most people believe in personal revelation, which is a confusing concept to me. Why even have prophets at all? Along with these priests, pastors, rabbis, and imams skimming their 10%? Just seems like a pyramid scheme. But that's what believers tell us. God communicates to them directly. Well, often indirectly. They almost died in a car accident, but they didn't. It wasn't just one waterfall. The waterfall broke into 3 parts. They said they were only going to blow me once. Then I came twice. You know, real life miracles. Yet rare events in a big world happen all the time. It's the impossible I care about, though God never seems to communicate how to heal amputees. That's up to the engineering department, so that shit can actually get done. Oh, but he speaks in mysterious ways. In the shower, while we're dressing, and when we go to the bathroom. Of course, nothing that is recordable or can be shown on an MRI scanner, but it's real to believers. Maybe God can help pick if I should wear a black dress or a blue dress. Oh, because the one thing this God can't do is talk in English. Or any other language for that matter. Because the old saying is that if you talk to God, everything is peachy keen. If God talks back, then someone may have put something in your Coke. Or something like that. Anyway, does revelation happen? No. And that includes holy text, no matter what their flavor. Or people, no matter how real they tell us their experiences are. That's because we have a built-in bias. What we need is empirical, testable, and verifiable data that can be put through the peer review process. Anything else is just the guy at the end of the bar telling us how God spoke to him. Or argument a la a book said a thing. Thank you. And all right, with that, James, how are you tonight? And are you ready to be divinely inspired by revelation?
Oh, as much as I possibly can be, I'm ready to be completely inspired. But yeah, so Amy, of course, she set that up really nice. What can I say about this? What can I say to add to it? So we have lots of claims about people getting revelation in the past, but when we look today, we look in the modern era, we see people claiming revelation. It's kind of obvious that they're full of, you know what, like Smith from the 1800s. Well, we know he was lying. We know that Ellen G. White was lying. We know that everybody in the modern era who's made prophecies has done nothing but get prophecies wrong. In fact, we know that even the prophecies that were written about in the Bible and the Quran, they seem to get it wrong quite a lot. The only time they don't get it wrong is when they're made so vague and nebulous that they can mean just about anything, which case anybody can do that. A good horoscope writer can write things that look like they're going to come true based on that. Actually, times in the Bible where they went back after the fact and tried to make it look like they were prophesying something before it happened, but it was a complete fraud. Based on that, so we know that the Old Testament patriarchs did not exist. We know that the New Testament is based on anonymous authors. It's based on hearsay, maybe just made up all entirely. You've got the accounts from Paul, who we know was a real person. He's one of the few that we actually do know was real, who only claimed he saw Jesus in a vision, a dream, a hallucination. We don't know what it was, but no evidence to believe that he had any type of revelation. He certainly wrote a lot about it, but what of it's come to pass? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. And like Ken Hovind says, they kind of knew this would be the case because they wrote that verse he's always saying about, like, oh, the scoffers are going to come in the last days and say, where's the promise of his coming? For since the fathers fell asleep, everything continues as it was since the beginning. And that's you guys. Well, maybe because they knew nothing was going to happen, so they kind of put that in there to make it look, oh, hey, it said nothing would happen. But yeah, none of this is happening. There's no reason to think any of it's inspired. It doesn't fit what we see in reality, and what we deal with a lot of time is having these typically young Earth creationists, but fundamentalist Islam, trying to fit reality into the paradigm of their holy text because they believe it on faith. They believe it to be absolute truth. And so therefore they must fit reality into it. And as we point out all the time, it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit. And there's no reason to believe any of it is true. And like, as Amy pointed out, it seems kind of unnecessary. If there was a God out there, he could communicate directly with all of us. We wouldn't have to go through prophets who lived hundreds or thousands of years ago. You wouldn't have to have this priest class, this religious class of people who are intermediaries between us and God. Why would any God worth anything set something like that up? Doesn't make any sense. He could communicate with us directly. He could and you wouldn't have to take any of it based on faith. Why is faith is gullibility? It's arbitrarily choosing to believe something that you have no reason to believe it. you're just choosing to believe something. And there are lots of things you can choose to believe without reason. Then it just becomes a matter of luck. Oh, you got lucky and you happen to choose the right one. But it's kind of like reality, this giant casino, a winner take all game of chance where, hey, you happen to be lucky enough, you're born into a culture where Christianity is the predominant religion, so therefore you're probably going to be exposed to it. So hey, you got lucky. Uh, Everybody else who wasn't born into those circumstances, hey, sucks to be them. Don't worry about it. Just thank God he put you in the right place. Yeah, all this really, it's a bunch of nonsense. And but if anybody thinks it makes any type of sense, come on, let us know. But it's yeah.
Woohoo!
It's a bunch of nonsense.
Couldn't agree more. And if Revelation were real, I just feel like he'd be able to talk to everybody.
He would want to. Why would he want you to have to go through other people? And then you're not really just having faith in God. You're having faith in those people that they're talking to God or that God is talking to them. Then you have to choose which one of them are telling the truth, because they might give conflicting accounts. How do you know which is which? This is
yeah, you really have no method from discerning fact from fiction.
This is chaos. And then you've got holy books, and then who interprets the holy books? Because they're so long and they say all kinds of crazy stuff that goes in every direction. I mean, you would very quickly encounter a situation where you could have dozens, maybe even hundreds of different sects of people all adhering to the same book, or saying that they adhere to the same book, saying they've got the right version of it, they know best, and everybody else is wrong to a certain degree. And you could you see how that could happen?
I feel like that would never happen, and then we would never have a religious holy war, because that would be terrible. Well, I don't think that would ever happen.
Because in the Bible, when Jesus, before he goes to heaven, when he sends down the helper, that's the Holy Spirit, and he said that, told his followers that the Holy Spirit would come and teach them all things, all truth. Now, does that mean he'll teach you a few things, but he's not going to tell you everything? Or does it mean if Jesus said all things?
It's playing hard to get.
And that's why the Catholic Church actually proclaims that they're, like, if they say something, it can't be wrong, because the Holy Spirit would mislead them, right? It says he's going to teach them all things. It must mean all things.
Exactly. So he's also all powerful, except for the shit that he can't do. But besides that, he's super he's maximally powerful. Like he can lift. If you were to ask him, bro, can you? But
they claim to have infallibility, but then we know they've gotten things wrong too. So it doesn't even.
And I hear this from all the religious denominations. There's not a single contradiction in their holy book, which unless you dig into each of them, and then the context has to come up. But all right, we are about to switch into callers.
I think Gizmo found a couple contradictions in the Quran too, and the Book of Mormon.
Oh my! Once again, a fascinating, because it's two very different scenarios. Intent is all about lying. Do I think that the people 3,500 years ago were lying when they really did think that slitting a goat's throat would save them from a god? No, I'm sure they really did believe that. Did Joseph Smith believe anything that came out of his mouth? I don't know. How much are you paying him?
Yeah.
But yes, we are about to switch into callers, in which we'll be taking one call at a time. We are looking specifically for those views different than our own. In fact, we give priority to those who do. However, we're also open to the views who do agree with us and have something to say on the subject. Afterwards, we'll be heading to the Discord for some chatting with the community, the link of which is in the description below, and the link to join the live stream is in chat right now and will be put on screen as we are about to switch into our first caller.
Gizmo might have a fatwa put out against him now for finding that contradiction in the Quran.
Which I would always consider an honor. When anyone accuses you of blasphemy, unless you're being a giant dick, that is, I would say, the rule of thumb. Don't be a giant dick. But if you're being a dick to someone that doesn't exist, I mean, I don't know who you're offending, except for, I guess, the people who believe that he exists. But that's not you. Please do not get offended. People who beings that you cannot prove exist
don't like reality getting in the way of their favorite fables.
Exactly. But we have people backstage. We are going to
bring them up.
Our first few callers. They are both amazing people. We are bringing in Richard as we Call Me Skeptical. Does revelation happen?
Hey, Richard.
What is up, Richard? I hope you are doing lovely tonight. As always, we are talking some fun on Call Me Skeptical, and we are asking, does revelation, specifically the divine kind, happen?
Yes. Hey, I want to say I love the wordplay. Call me skeptical.
Ooh, thank you so very much.
Was that yours, Amy? Was that yours?
I will say, if I could be proud of some, I love the names. If I could get a good somewhere between a pun and a dad joke, which is a dad joke, I'm very happy.
Yeah, I'm too. I come from a Star Trek family. So, and I want to say again, if I haven't said it enough, I'm compelled to say it every time. Thank you so much for your work. Because I think it's very, very important pointing out. You're welcome. I think it's very important to point out when people are saying things that don't make any sense and aren't plausible in reality. And I find a lot of religious people doing that. I hope I'm a religious person who's not doing that. That's what I hope I am. Now, that'd be super weird, I know.
Well, I've always found you to be a nice guy, a mensch. So I would always say the only difference would be really just on the theism. But I think you're an amazing theist.
Well, let's look at
more open-minded than some. I'll say more, at least willing to consider different, not so dogmatic.
Oh, I think there's no room for dogma. Of course, my channel's name is Demolished Doctrine.
Fantastic.
Well, there's always room for that. Like there's always room for ice cream. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right on. Okay, so do you guys know of something offhand before I present something about Revelation, where I have said something that within my religious views that was not, that was, logically impossible or not plausible in reality, or was defeating or stretching of physics or anything like that at all?
I have a hard time with logical impossibility. I would say I take a similar position to Matt Dillahunty, in that I would say that things have to be both proven if they are possible and impossible.
Sure.
And so I would also say that, because we were another fantastic episode, if he's out there, we were dealing with is evidence of absence of evidence. And so both, I would say James and I are kind of in the camp that we think we have a bunch of data points in the opposite direction. Does that mean that as a God is impossible? I don't think James and I would say impossible, but highly improbable?
I don't know. It depends on your definition of God, doesn't it?
Well, I guess in the classic theistic sense, but I guess if you define it in a different way, that could depend, yeah.
Sure. Like if I said all feline familiaris are God, you wouldn't say there's no cats.
Sure. And so it would absolutely defend or depend on your definition of a God. Normally, the question, if not the two questions we believe would ask, is what do you believe, and more importantly, why do you believe it? And I would say the most often answer we get, and this isn't the label that we gave it, because it's a total PR word, because it not recent, but there are religious, but they call it classical theism, even though basically the religion that has become the three Abrahamic have become very popular, and so they it's the mind. And that, in fact, I would say that is my biggest beef with the God concept, which I would say the only two religious views that can maybe not escape this, but don't really have a ball in it, would be deism and maybe a version of pantheism or pantheism, or however you want to define it.
However she defines it that day.
But basically, the mind that cares what you do and then will judge you, I'm highly skeptical of. Yeah. I think it's an antiquated concept, and even though that they think that it's the most latest technology ever, we get often told this is science.
Yeah, well, there's all kinds of claims by people, and you've probably heard me say this before, but maybe some of your audience has not. It doesn't make sense to me to hear of something from someone and they make no sense, and then I adopt that view that made no sense, and I judge something else using that view.
Sure.
I mean, that is illogical. It's like saying I need a math tutor for my kid. I find somebody who's bad at teaching math. I hire them as a tutor. They're bad at teaching math, so they don't help my kid. So I fire them, but I keep teaching the kid that math.
Yeah. Or you come to the conclusion that math is BS. Math is
right. If you conclude that math is BS because of a bad teacher, that also wouldn't make any sense.
That would be the same.
So how are you not doing that?
So help me follow the analogy though. How are you saying we're doing that?
You're doing that. You're doing that.
Walk me through that though. Why you think
okay, Christians are irreputable. Why?
What do you mean irreputable?
They're not trustworthy on some topics. What are those topics, and why are they not trustworthy?
My big beef. My big beef with Christianity is like, once again, I don't like, or I really don't even understand why prophets exist. Mm-hmm. I don't. Their attachment to the old prophets, specifically when I don't believe Adam and Eve wasn't a prophet, but Noah, Abraham,
Isaac, Jacob.
Isaac, these big patriarchs I don't think existed. Mm-hmm. I don't like the concept of hell. I get sometimes cuddlier versions of it, but it's not. I don't
sacrifice, scapegoatism.
Sometimes people say, theists say, "Do you think I'm lying to you?" And I think lying always includes intent. And I think people are just saying what they believe, but I don't.
Be just wrong, right? They don't have to be lying.
Sure. I think a lovely shout out to youtube.com/talkheathen. Talkheathen often has the ending code of "We don't hate you, we just think you're wrong."
Yeah. No, that's fine. So Christians are wrong about the God claim. Yeah. That's basically your stance.
I would say the God claim, prophethood, and miracles. Because just to put a final dot, there are some miracles that I actually find their irreverence almost a data point in opposition to them being real. Like when I hear Jesus walked on water and turned water into wine, I actually see this as like miracles that are like just so ridiculously human. Like they're almost like, whoa, look what you can do. But they're
walking
not
on
really.
Water.
But just, I can't help it. In the era of Marvel, they're actually not creator powers. It's just in lots of different stuff. Everyone's got a shtick.
Have you seen Rowan Atkinson's little skit on that?
That sounds very familiar.
He's, well, you know, Rowan Atkinson,
Mr. Bean.
Mr. Bean, yes, and he's reading he's dressed as a priest, with the purple sash around his neck and all that, in a black robe, and he's reading from the Bible, quote unquote. Of course, he's not actually. And the Lord said to them, "Fetch me 5 pails of water," and behold, they were wine. And the crowd said, "That was quite good. Do you do children's parties?"
Well, I mean, I would say, yeah, that's basically
She
my
does.
view of
In
it.
fact,
That's
she
the
does
view.
children's
Yeah.
parties.
That's right. I create balloon animals.
Okay, so if a person is irreputable on a topic because they say things can't be true in reality, why believe them on the topic?
I would say my question is just put all of those, or I would say my focus would be put all of those other Christians aside, because we're just taking what they tell us. Why do you believe, or do you believe that revelation exists, and it has a purpose? And then I would say, why do you believe that?
Because a revelation happened to me, revealing to me knowledge I did not have, mostly because when I was born and where I was born, and how I lived my life, and the things that I did and did not study. And these things are plausible in reality, involving chemistry and physics I wasn't aware existed, because I'm not a chemist or a physicist.
Wait, hold on. Let's freeze that. Are you saying you got like a certain type of knowledge, a certain type of chemistry and physics knowledge from Revelation?
No. There were things that were revealed to me that necessitate knowledge of those chemistry and physics, which I don't have.
Can you give?
In other words, I'm just saying I can't have made it up because I just don't have the experience.
Well, can you give an example of like one of those revelations?
Sure. I linked you a paper in the side chat. It's a peer reviewable paper. It includes all of the scientific citations, the physical locations of things, the overview, the definitional plausibility for translation of the text, that it can be read this way, word for word, word by word. And I didn't correct myself. I was adding to it. Also, not only word for word, but also word by word. Yeah, so there's that.
Okay, I'm sending your link into.
This is the revelation that you had, and they did a paper on it, or is it somebody else?
Well, I wrote the paper myself.
Okay.
A revelation I had sounds like somehow I managed to make that happen.
Well,
no.
Can you give us the trailer version of that paper?
The 3-minute elevator speech. I suppose you
Yes.
don't mean like trailer, like cheap housing trailer.
No.
Oh, okay.
Yes, the one that has great visual effects.
Ken Hovind's alma mater.
The 3-minute description is, it's not an ancient war story about a little tiny guy with no experience beating a great big giant guy who might be retarded or blind. Okay. But the David and Goliath is actually a reference to the near stellar objects in our solar system.
You're saying that David and Goliath, the story, actually pertains to cosmology?
Yes, it's cosmological. That's correct.
Continue. I'm going.
Okay. Where every aspect of them and everything they do makes sense as planets, and much of it makes no sense as people. For instance, how much do you travel by rolling your body? Yet the word Philistine means a rolling migratory.
Can you walk me through? I'm trying.
I don't know where
it's
the name
the actual
came from.
words. Like Goliath, the giant of Gath, a Philistine. If you just looked at what those words are and what they mean, it's revealed and made obvious at a great distance, a rolling thing, a rolling migratory thing, during the wine press. The wine press meaning end times in the Bible. That's kind of proprietary, the wine press thing.
But could you understand why I am skeptical? Because it seems like
everything.
I have an interpretation. We have two interpretations. I see David and Goliath as a classic, if we could sell that PR term, the classic mythological tale, as in the underdog being able to overcome through experience, talent, and dedication to overcome something larger than themselves. And it's a relatable story, I think, throughout the times. And so that would be, how could we tell those, I wouldn't say opposing, but I would say that makes much more logical sense than this is a story that is trying to admit cosmological data to us in the future.
You know, Robert M. Price had the same objection. He said it's unnecessary complexity. Why isn't it just a story about two guys fighting in the ancient Near East?
Which is a great, in its simplicity, it still has, once again, the heroic structure, which can still be a great story.
I guess it could be both. It could have dual meanings, which is possible.
Well, you know,
I just haven't read I haven't read your paper.
And that's okay. You certainly haven't had time to. It's 150 pages. You can't have read it in 3 minutes. There's an expression in literature, no Tyndale, no Shakespeare. That is, Shakespeare took his writing style from the Old Testament work done by Tyndale. So
Tyndale
multiple
Bible.
levels. Definitely multiple levels, quite on purpose, and that's the brilliance of Shakespeare.
I can definitely agree there. And I have to say this because I always get excited continuously that the Lion King is Hamlet. So it just tells you how many stories can be told over and over again. But to keep on drilling down. And thank you so very much, Richard. I love, once again, always coming on to have a back and forth, but also a discussion.
I would just say, if to give us the quick version of that analogy, what did David represent and what did Goliath represent? And you talked about having to do with end times. Do you think we're in the end times right now?
I said having to do with end times?
The wine press?
The wine press. Yeah, the name Goliath of Gath, the word Gath there is wine press. Yeah.
Okay.
Do I think we're in end times right now? First, I hate the word end times for a beginning time.
I have my answer. Let's see what our answers are.
And if we were, we would know it. Like atheists would know it.
Oh, so I would say, because I would say no, we are not in end times.
Good. Okay, if an atheist says we're not in end times, then we're not.
No, there is bad stuff going on. In fact, there is bad stuff that I think everyone should be paying attention to right now. And that's why we love doing so much skeptical content. But I lost my train of, I would say end times. I don't, not only do I not think that we're in end times, but if you look at better angels of our nature, I think that there's a good amount of evidence that it's trending upwards, that in almost every metric, we are going in the right direction. It's hard to tell that when we deal with events. You know, the joke used to be, in the height of COVID that, hey, welcome to the end of the world. And, even the zombie apocalypse would not be the end of the world. As long as life keeps on moving. Generally, it's just the end of,
the long-term trend.
There's only one, I could say, definite answer to the planet, and that's in another about 4.5 to 5 billion years. The star will red giant. It will not
actually
supernova.
Implodes and then
boomity boom.
Right. Okay. So do I think that we're in end times? No. And here's why.
We can agree.
If I actually stuck with what the Bible says, never mind what Christians say about it. Christians are irreputable. Let's just forget about whatever they say. What it actually says is that the signs announce the end times, and the signs are for an evil nation. That means non-believing generally. So if it wouldn't convince an atheist, there hasn't been a sign.
Except for the movie Signs, which does exist.
Well, the movie Signs,
that wouldn't convince an atheist.
That's not biblical signs. And it's a movie. It's an art piece, obviously. So it's
but
okay.
Oh, what a twist.
Yeah.
But actually, what I would like to bring back is the David and Goliath story.
Yeah.
Is this what convinced you? Were you always a believer?
Oh, no, I was an anti-theist, making the positive claim there can be no God for 30 years of my adult life.
I will say the water's fine if you'd like to come back.
You know, I can't come back, and I think that no one can actually stay there.
Well, it's like the Atkins challenge. I'm up for it. But
how long has it been since you?
Yeah, take us back. When were you an anti-theist?
Oh, okay. So from the age of 12, when I became more able to think, I'll put it that way, I saw that religion was bullcrap.
Torah says you're a man at 13, a man or woman, so should be, right? That's totally.
I mean, I was able to think at some level, and I hadn't studied logic or anything, but when someone's telling me a fairy tale, by the time I was 12, I could recognize a fairy tale. Okay.
Of course, and that tends to be. I feel like you are raised in a religion, and it's just your parents' religion often. And I think around the time that you're starting to gather data and see outside sources at that teenage age, you start to question.
Right, and so I did. So I became an agnostic at first. I was like, I'm not really sure. And then I started looking into some things. I became atheistic. And over the course of the next year and a half, I settled on anti-theism, that all of this is crap and it can't be true.
And I will say that I'm pretty sure is the same as James' position. I think we're both anti-theist, and we do have to put the exclamation mark. We have no hate in our metaphorical hearts for theists. In fact, we will share we'll share beer with any religious person that actually drinks beer.
Except I think he's using
can be jerks, but
I think he's using the term anti-theist more as like a hard atheist.
Right.
Sure.
Because when we use the term anti-theist, it's more that religion has an overall negative impact on society. It would be overall better without religion, which is a little different than hard atheism. But yeah.
I'll say ramen. I need to find my.
Yeah, there should be a distinction there. I've run across that problem before. Perhaps what I was anti-theism, not anti-theist.
All right, and my joke is always I'm a medium atheist because I think that some gods don't exist, and so and as I can't help it, I hear James's head.
Yeah.
He's always
in the middle.
Moderate. I can't help it.
You can't help it.
If you make broad sweeping universal statements, you're probably wrong. Unless the broad sweeping universal statement is when you make broad sweeping universal statements, you're probably wrong. That one's right. That one's true, but it's one of the few that are. Okay, and
we'll freeze. At this point, you are 13, 14. You are you're into anti-theism. You are an atheist who believes that gods don't exist.
Right.
And I imagine you want to tell people because I think that comes once you sort of have a truth.
I became an evangelist for that. Absolutely.
And so move us forward. What was are there big events on the road to theism?
Most Christianity religious stances are pretty easy to tear apart, so I did a lot of that.
Ramen.
Like you guys do here. Really, it's low-hanging fruit. I mean, I'm not picking on you. It's just that
it's a lot of fun.
Juicy as
the theories are terrible. Okay, it's just too easy to take it apart. So I had an event happen at age 42 against my will.
if I could freeze frame you, so you're
Sure.
telling me at least, or us, 30 something years of atheism.
What's that?
You're telling us 20,
you're an atheist
30?
for 30 years.
12,
That's what he
12
said,
to 42, 30 years ish.
Yeah. So
I mean, I'm not counting the months there, but yeah, that's about right.
No. And that I just find that interesting.
Yeah.
Because I think something. So what got you there, or what was at 41? Take us there.
41. Girlfriend trying to make a business bud of remodeling. Yamaha Silverado 1700. Rum and Coke.
I mean, I'm liking it so far but okay, so bring us forward. There has to be something between 41 and 42 after 30 years.
Yeah, there was a specific event, yeah.
All right, so what was that specific event?
And the conversion was about 20 minutes.
20 minutes. Oh my god. Sometimes
it
takes my nails longer, but I like it.
Something's either true or not.
Ramen.
And it doesn't matter if you like it. If it's true, you should accept it.
Ramen.
Absolutely.
That's my theory. So yeah, what happened was I picked up a Bible for the first time in my life. I'd never read one, not even as a child, even though I was raised Roman Catholic.
I went to Hebrew school and I didn't read much of the Bible, so that's
you
okay.
See why? Yeah, I got you. And there was one story I could remember. It was David and Goliath. Imagine that. I was a shy, thin, red-haired, freckle-faced boy. Small. So David and Goliath. Relatable story, just like you said. The underdog wins. That's a great story. And
I'm
read
from Philly, so we have to be fans of Rocky. It's kind of, I think, in our contract when we get property there. Exactly.
Did you get a stipend for promoting that? But anyway,
you do. You actually.
You do.
They don't even tell us, but you actually get coupons for cheesesteaks just in the mail.
Cheesesteak.
Part of
that was
the
perfect. Cheesesteak was the perfect choice of a coupon. That was excellent, Amy. Excellent.
But yes, okay. We're good. We're about to get. I would say that's about the length of.
Yeah, we're coming to
a good haircut.
Potatoes.
So it's not it's not a car wash. Car wash would probably go a little bit faster, but it's definitely a good haircut if you haven't had a haircut in a while. So bring us
20
to
minutes.
it.
Okay, so what I have to call a movie, like a dream.
Oh my.
But with a lot of detail. Not like a foggy dream you remember from when you were asleep. First of all, I wasn't asleep. Second of all, I've never done hallucinogenics of any kind. That's just not my thing. I'm a control freak. I don't do that. Don't even really like to be drunk, actually. But it showed me things that I would not have cared about, did not want to know, could not have experienced, that are true in reality. And here's the Robert M. Price answer. If it has more explanatory power than it raises questions, then it's worth considering. It explains the signs of end times in our solar system in real things that we would see. It gives a plausible explanation for how it might actually happen.
Okay, so hold on. I like all of what you're saying, to explore at least. I want to go back just a half step. You said that you had a dream, but you were awake.
Yeah, I was sitting on my now ex-girlfriend's mother's couch reading her Bible. I didn't own one.
Okay,
you spontaneously picked it up, or what made you pick it up and start reading?
Actually, a TV over voice announcer saying the word Enoch. And then I was like, where the hell have I heard the word Enoch? So I went and looked it up.
And then you started reading the Bible and you just had a vision. Yeah,
just like that.
You remember what passage you were reading when it happened? Or
well, that's what the paper is right there. And that would be 1 Samuel 6, 24 through 8:6.
Give me 1 second. if you could.
She'll pull it up, yeah.
Yeah, if you could just put that in chat while I'll just
Put what in chat?
In
The
private
verses.
chat, just the verses. I'll actually bring it up because
you could just search David and Goliath, or it's 1 Samuel 6:23. So it starts at 6:24.
All right, give me 1 second. We're gonna share. And I will send love out there.
Actually, Master QT, information isn't transferred without conversation.
And so we will actually go on for like another 10 minutes, Richardson, of our conversation, and we'll finish out with actually some questions from the audience, because I saw some in there. So if you would like to ask any question to anyone on the panel, feel free to tag James W., Richard, or myself in chat at Amy Newman. But okay, is this the chapter?
I believe so, yeah.
5 golden hemorrhoids. Oh my, this starts off interesting. Okay.
Well, if you wanted to skip the hemorrhoid thing and the mouse thing, it's mouse and hemorrhoid actually.
Can I say something for just a second? Maybe we will. How far? What did you say it is?
24.
24. Oh, okay. That looks like that's even further. Hold on. Next chapter.
Yeah. 23, 24. Is my mind going? Is it not? And they sent messengers in the habits of
blood kills. Oh, as you do. Israelites looking into the ark.
I believe in my King James it was 624 or no 618.
And this is.
I'm sorry, I am somewhat dyslexic.
Oh, you're fine. Sometimes you should hear me try and pronounce half the words in these books. Sometimes it's me being sarcastic.
The Bible is
sometimes
sometimes trolling her.
Yeah.
Alphanumerics just don't have meaning for me. They're not. There's nothing to remember about them. It's just like rote memorization. It's horrible.
But sending love, I am gonna look and send it in chat and send in Brainbug, Davegar, Caffey, Master, Jason, Davegar, everybody out there.
Doubting Thomas.
Senator Cato, Doubting Thomas. Oh, says 621. Let us read. And they sent messengers, inhabitants of Karajanarjam, saying, the Philistines have brought again the ark of the Lord. Come ye down, fetch it upon you. Oh, what is up, doorknob head?
For me in the King James, it starts at 1623.
1623? Let me see. Hold on.
There's a little bit of history of David before that.
Like here we go.
His dad is and stuff like that. But that's where it
really
starts.
Here we go. So God chooses David as a king. And then we have an evil spirit from God plagues Saul, and David makes it go away.
Right. That's where it starts, yeah.
David kills Goliath.
That's part of the story, yeah, definitely.
Okay, then we're just going to go. We'll start here. And instead of reading, I just want to quickly read the annotations. It's going to be our quick notes of the Skeptic Bible study. Yeah.
God, and these are you and James's personal quick notes, if I'm to understand correctly, yes?
Well, so this is the Skeptic's Annotated Bible. This is the King James Version. The King James Version is on the left side, and then
that's hilarious.
The annotations are on the right side.
I wish we had time to go through the whole Bible and annotate it, but
we'll get there.
I thought you guys were doing one episode at a time.
We are. That is what we are doing.
Okay.
Just on, but
take us a few years to get done, but we're working on it.
We're going to do the quick notes. So God said to Samuel, "How long will you mourn for Saul? And if you disagree with the annotations just tell us, now that I have rejected him as king, fill your horn with oil and go visit Jesse from Big Bang Theory. I've chosen one of his sons to be king. Samuel answered God, as you do. If I do that, Saul will kill me. Wow, really is from Breaking Bad. God said, take a heifer and say you're going to sacrifice to the Lord. Call Jesse. I hope they're not cooking meth. To the sacrifice. After that, I'll show you what I do. I'll pick one of Jesse's sons to be king. So Samuel went to Bethlehem. I used to live near there. Telling the frightened elders.
Could you pause right there?
Absolutely.
Okay. Usually, if you name a town after something famous, the famous thing comes before the town. That makes sense, right?
Sure.
The word Bethlehem is actually 3 Hebrew words, which mean house of bread. Do you recognize the phrase house of bread? It's Virgo. It's Virgo. The constellation Virgo is Bethlehem, which is a much older thing than Hebrew Bible.
But why?
It's a bigger, older thing. It's using the word. You might as well say Virgo right there.
But so I believe that there's a New Hampshire and that there's also a Hampshire.
There's a Hampshire, yes.
But I don't know. I don't know. I don't feel like this is talking about.
Well, which one's older, New Hampshire or Hampshire?
Hampshire, but I don't think that this has anything to do with the stars.
No, it's literally a constellation. If you look it up, that is the proper name of Virgo, and those are the Hebrew words for Virgo. Not kidding.
The house of bread.
Yes. The virgin with the sheaves of wheat. The proper name is the house of bread. Virgo is a nickname.
But doesn't this sound like you are reading into the etymology? No, well, you say literally when you actually mean metaphorically. I would say that is the exact opposite of literally.
No, that is literally.
Where?
Bethlehem is not a town, except that there's a Bethlehem named after the constellation Virgo.
So that was that the original name of Virgo?
The house of bread, yes. That's a standard. Older than Judaism, older than the Bible. It's the standard name.
I'm seeing. So Samuel went to I think this is to a town, and then telling the frightened elders.
That's what you've been told to read it. That's the way it's interpreted. It's not the words that are there, however.
But it just says Bethlehem.
I know.
Which is Palestinian town in Jerusalem, West Bank. People.
He's saying it's named after
Bethlehem.
Yeah.
But
that town is named after the constellation, which is older. The point is the constellation, not the town.
House of meat, house of bread, but
yeah. Meat meaning nourishment, things you eat.
But none of that is cosmology. None of that is talking about the stars.
Well, go to a cosmological site and you'll see exactly the same thing.
What do you mean?
Any hokey cosmology site, they all know this. House of bread is Virgo, literally.
But so you are basically saying, so Samuel went to some place in the stars?
Yes, that's what it's talking about. It's talking about a constellation, the prophet and a constellation there. That's what it's talking about.
Well, we definitely know that didn't happen. I would say. We definitely know Samuel did not go to a constellation.
Well, what do you think Samuel has to be a person?
I would say yes, definitely. Okay. 100%.
Do you think that historically Samuel is a person?
Yes. What do you think?
You think Samuel was a person for real on the earth actually in history?
Well, no. These are all made up people. They didn't actually exist.
Why'd they make them up?
Oh, because that's what most of the Torah is. These are oral traditions, just like Moses, Noah, Adam, and Eve. They never existed.
Well, I agree with you, but the Bible isn't saying that they did exist on this earth. That's kind of my point here.
But not only did they not exist, do you think they existed beyond someone's mind?
They exist in some other way. It's not a person on the earth.
But, okay. But do they exist further than someone's mind?
I don't know. That sounds like a fundamental question of reality.
Yeah.
Is there something outside of mind?
Yeah, that's
I don't know how I
mind-blowing.
could answer that. I mean, I have theories on it if you want to talk about it.
What do you think Samuel is, though, Richard? In the context of your interpretation of this.
The Holy Spirit.
Okay.
Samuel is the obvious true representative of the one true God. That is the Holy Spirit. Can't be something else. After all, the Bible says there's only one prophet, and that prophet is Jesus. And then it names all these other beings in certain situations, but their names have meaning. The meanings of the names are worth looking up.
Is Samuel, was that name used to refer to the Holy Spirit anywhere else, or?
Well, I know that El is going to be God. I'd have to look up the prefix Samu to find out what that means in Hebrew, but it's going to mean something about God. It's not going to be a person on the planet.
So the Holy Spirit.
Wait, can I just start?
No, go ahead.
1 second. Aren't you suggesting aliens then?
Well, if I said there were an intelligence that never resided on this planet that could act on reality, i.e. the description of an angel, that's simultaneously the description of an alien.
I mean, okay. I mean,
yeah,
I am highly skeptical. I mean,
it sounds like his.
Let me put an asterisk.
He was talking about before, yeah.
I'll put a big asterisk. Is that aliens, in my opinion, at least have a higher probability of existing than a god. Too. And yet, I will say, I do not believe that we have ever been visited by aliens or that we should believe that aliens exist. And
no,
so
we don't have reason yet to believe that aliens positively do exist. But however, we can logically make the assertion that it's likely that aliens do exist. It's a big old universe out there, Amy.
It certainly is likely that there's some life out there.
Oh, yeah. Well, life, I mean, things rarely come in one. First of all, that's what he or she said. And second of all, you know, I think there's a lot of stars out there. And I don't think, as much as I think that life is special and rare and amazing and we should cherish it, I do think it's a chemical natural occurrence. And so I think it will occur on other either stars or maybe on moons that have, you know, the right type of temperature underneath their surface or something.
Well, let's take your example just one step further. Let's say that an evolutionary process happened to something that happened via abiogenesis and resulted in what we see here.
It would be panspermia, I think, what you're saying. If an alien, or you can actually have panspermia.
I hadn't even addressed that, actually.
Oh,
but
okay,
what I'm saying is, why does this have to be a one-off and it never happened somewhere else?
It's not that I have to be a one-off. I just can't help that. One of my big pet peeves. I can't help it. I can't play. I can only play this card maybe once a podcast, but I am obsessed with consciousness. And as I think many of us are, we can't help it. And so I think that it's a naturalistic mechanism. It's the defining feature of us being an animal. And so when I would expect a highly intelligent species just to be communicating in this way, I'd be highly skeptical.
Why do you think they must communicate? And why do you think they would have to communicate in this way?
Well, I think that it just the Bible and many of the religious books, they just show their vulnerabilities. It's not that you can't find nothing good in them or no wisdom in them. It's that
that's cheap.
That's
easy to do. But I can do that from Harry Potter.
I mean, you're doing my argument for me.
I know.
And so it's when you take it literally. I don't think we don't have to go far as this is another species, because that really, it does. It would bring up a whole more range of questions, just like, why didn't they communicate again? Why aren't they communicating now? I don't know. It just seems
maybe he thinks they are.
Well, maybe.
Actually, I think again happened several times to each individual society when it became gregarian, successful, had 5 minutes to sit down and like build a campfire and chill. And they got a religion.
See, I think that just takes, not that you're trying to, but I think that just takes credit from how much we accomplish. Like, I often hear, how else could the pyramids have possibly been created? It had to have been.
Try that one.
And I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying that I often think that people just can't conceptualize, hey, the scholars of the day might have actually figured out, plus the probably slaves, whether they were Jewish or otherwise, but probably helped build those things, probably had early engineers that were able to figure that stuff out.
Wasn't primarily slaves.
And in a second, I will say I've been loving that. We'll probably have to go on to a part 2, Richard, but I'll let you.
I'd love to. I mean, I appreciate any of your time always.
Oh, thank you. And like I said, you're always a mensch, even when I know it gets spicy and we disagree. I actually love the back and forth.
I'm confident enough that you can't actually insult me, even by accident.
Well, that's
by
good.
Accident.
But I'm going to start looking for those comments, which we also, once again, I think James is only limited to this once a podcast, but he who controls the spice controls the universe. But do you have any final words before we just bring up some of these comments?
Yeah, definitely once per podcast.
I think that was for you, James, unless I'm confused.
Oh, no. I would actually say, as much as I love Richard, you actually... how about I'm trying to think, the outro trailer, the other way, if you had to say, we have been in fact calling me skeptical on Revelation,
anything
what
else
would
you want to
you
say?
Once again, the elevator pitch, or even the part 2, why Revelation? Why do you believe that you've gotten a message from God, a being, whatever you would want to call it?
You know, I really think the proof is in the pudding. If something I say right now as an answer to your question doesn't happen, you'll know I was wrong. It's that simple, right? And if it does happen, you'll know that this is the right reading of frame for these stories. So I'll just say Jupiter is going to become a short-term star, brighter than any other star, aside from our sun, in the night sky. I'll just say that. And that's just going to have to do.
At some point, or is that in the
within your natural lifetime, unless you have unperceivable medical problems that are going to shorten your life from your present age. So probably within the next 20 years.
And I'm just going to bring up a question from Davegar, who says he is a little bit skeptical. What would you say about us skeptics that are reading your paper right now? What would
I love you guys. I hope you're super, super skeptical, but in the truest sense of it. Not skeptical, not cynical. Be skeptical, please.
I see. Loving the back and forth. And I think Davegar, who is sending love, we actually got Beamsy and Davegar about to be on call with us to talk about this subject. I always want to
pronounce that Davenger. Is that the wrong way to say it?
Davegar?
It's Davegar. I want to
Davegar, who we love.
Oh, well.
He also says, please, a great topic for a show. Maybe why isn't the book of Enoch in the Bible?
Well, it is actually in the Catholic canon, surprisingly, in Ethiopia, the place of its origination, because the people wouldn't let it not be there.
Thank you. Coffee says, much love. That's right. We're sending love to all of our atheist and theist brothers and sisters out there.
The more conventional answer to that is that it just talks about a lot of really far out things that they weren't comfortable with in the mainstream Bible. It really goes into a lot of extrapolates on missing. It goes into a much further detail on a few things that are mentioned in Genesis than it was considered just too much.
Personally,
too much
I now see I now see it as unnecessary so long as you have the Book of Revelation or Enoch, because it's the same story told in different symbols.
Also similar with the Book of Jasher, that was also in some of the early canons, but they took it out of the final cut.
Well, the idea was to put it in the hands of the people, so you didn't want it to be 30 pounds. And like an altar edition
that sounds like a
of
challenge,
Bible is huge. The thing is just huge. It's crazy.
Oh, it's huge.
Oh my. And all right, Richard, I want to thank you so very much
Thank
for
you so much,
joining us.
Richard.
Pleasure.
We are going to send love, and then we are going to also, I'm going to put the link back up on stage. If you would like to join us, we actually give priority. The more you disagree with us, the more we want to hear you, though we actually love people who disagree with us and really are just science friendly. So the link will be up there. We got Beamsy and Davegar, who he's like, oh, I'm spiced. I'm ready to say some information. Oh,
there we go.
Sending love to Davegar, who once again, flat earth,
long-term supporter.
Yes. Exactly. And all right, we are moving right down the list. We got Beamsy. And thank you so very much,
Thanks, Richard.
As always, join us on more Call Me Skepticals and our open mics. Sending love. Woohoo! What is up, Beamsy? Thank you so very much for joining us. We are Calling Me Skeptical on Does Revelation Happen? And so we really want to know, I don't know, can God talk to humans?
My conversation was going to be more on the aspect of what is God. That's what I was going to do until Richard started with his revelation, and my astrophysics just was going, behave.
Oh my. Once again, we don't bite unless you're into that.
Do I have to beg?
Oh, you may.
So which argument do you want me to go? The completely and utterly destroying...
Well, I'll tell you what, we enjoy. James, can I have a second? I just want a second allocation. Yes.
All right.
He who controls the spice controls the universe, Beamsy. So we really do want to know. Come on, and give it to us.
Okay, I've completely
give it to her, baby.
So-called paper, and the aspects of it is a mistranslation. Within Samuel 17:55, he represents it as Philistia, which is correct, but that is pronounced Philish Seth. But the word he actually translates is not that. It's actually Palash. Palash is an act of mourning, and it's referred to as to roll into ash. So it's not a migratory rolling action. So he's using a completely wrong word, and he's mistranslating and misrepresenting what he's actually saying.
Oh, snap. So you're saying, if we could put the one sentence on that, you're saying that it's his interpretation.
It's not an interpretation. He's using a completely wrong word.
Oh.
If you go back to the Hebrew
it's a mistranslation.
Source, it's not a mistranslation. I'm going back to the aspect of the Hebrew.
Oh, you've triggered once again. We have traditions here at a podcast. When you say Hebrew, I have to showcase everything that I learned in Hebrew school. On count of 3, 2. Olive bet vet, olive bet vet, gimel dalet hey, gimel vav hey, vav sign. Okay, there we go.
All right, Annie, have another glass of Manischewitz.
The aspect of what he's trying to represent is the word palash. Palash is an act of mourning by rolling in dust. You can see that in Jeremiah and Ezekiel, where those words are used to basically show an act of mourning by rolling in ash. That's what he's trying to represent.
I almost want to. We can every once
in
a
Hebrew.
While, it does.
That's directly from Hebrew.
Okay.
Whereas from Psalms, Exodus, and Samuel's, the word there is Pelsheth, which is Philistia. Philistia is basically a Philistine or a Palestinian. So he completely uses the wrong word. That's all it is. And the aspect of Virgo the Virgin, there is no astronomical reference to that in any historical text within Judea. Their house of wheat, as you would call it, is actually Orion.
So I am open. My joke is always, I will let the doctoral battles happen between theists, because I am happy to accept any interpretation up until they tell me that they are generally literally true.
Well,
but
no,
I can see.
I can go and show you exactly in Hebrew Torah where the words are, and then show you the translations, and you can see it for yourself. But he uses the wrong words. He also misrepresents everything.
Thank you, scapegoat.
Basically, he's full of it, and that's the nicest thing I could say.
Oh, snap.
I was hoping he was
The
here to
spice
defend
is real.
himself. No, I was hoping he was here to defend himself.
Well, I will say, we do have the special occasion. We can expand it to guest host spot. It is the only way. We only have 4. We'll let you guys have some fun. But then when you guys are done back and forth, I do want to get you on what revelation. But I can't help it. I wouldn't say the S word because I don't have any more allocations. But we are going to bring him in because I can see he was already bringing stuff back. He was like, listen, I have been prepared for this. He's giving me a thumbs up. All right.
Hey.
We got Richard, and I think he wants us to eventually do a screen share, which I will. But Richard, welcome back. And what do you have here for us, Beamsy, and all of our viewers?
Beamsy, I appreciate your opinion first. I want to say that. Now, if I could just share screen.
Absolutely. I'll get that up there.
This is the actual word Philistine, in reference to Goliath being a Philistine. If you want me to back up, I'll show you that. It's Philistine.
It's Philistine.
That doesn't explain this spelling right, this pronunciation right here.
Seinfeld episode with theology.
What I mean, if you're better than Strong's, please tell me. I'll listen. Oh, you're not? Okay, so moving on. So that's rooted in the word Pelesheth, which you thought was the other word, which isn't. Which is rooted in the word Palash. There it was. I don't get to make up these screens. To roll, as in dust. Wallow self.
Or an active mourning, like it says in Strong's, further down, right there.
Yes, it can be an act of mourning. I never said it wasn't.
No, you were misrepresenting it again, because
look,
he is referred to as a Pelesheth when it's actually...
Is this a usage right here, or is this a definition? And do you know the difference?
I do know the difference, but like I said,
so it's a usage,
the word that they actually say is Pelesheth, not...
So that's a usage, right? And the definition is down here called a definition. I highlighted the word definition. It says to roll.
In dust or wallow in self. Yes.
That part is implied, yes. It's not part of the definition. Do you understand? It is just to roll. That is the definition. Tell me I'm wrong.
Which means 420. What are we talking? No.
See, I'm not wrong. And I'm using the exact definitions.
No, you're not. Because when it says to roll, it means in dust.
Because
you're actually going from one language to another to another. You have to go through 3 languages along the Rosetta Stone to get from Hebrew.
Those were not all Hebrew. Is that what you're saying?
They are Hebrew, but you're using it wrong.
Okay. Is it usage or definition? And how do you decide usage?
The word that describes Goliath is Pelesheth. How do you get Peleshah from Pelesheth?
Here's the actual verse. Here's the actual verse where he says, I am a Philistine. That's how it comes out in the English.
Yes, which is Pelesheth.
which is that word right there, Philistine. Look, I'm hitting the button without changing anything. Tools. All right, I didn't change something. I scroll down slowly so you can read it. I come to the word Philistine right there in that verse.
That's what
it's Pilishti. It's not Pilisheth. That's a root. That you're objectively wrong here.
And we will actually go for about 5 more minutes. We'll have back and forth. And then, Richard, stick around with us because I think Davegar may want to have some fun. But then I also want to get Beamsy on what they want to say about personal revelation or just prophet,
whatever you
revelation,
want,
divine, or anything that he would define it. But guys, you still got another 5 more minutes if you would like to have some questions.
If Beamsy wants to respond.
Well, the aspect of what I'm looking at right now is it says Pelesheth in the Naz version of it. So the inhabitants of Pelestelia.
Right.
Which is then Pelesheth.
Look, there's a root word and then there's derivative words. The
root word is its origin.
What?
The root is the origin.
Yes, no kidding.
But you don't want the origin.
That's what a root word is.
Well, the origin of the word fuck is fake, which means to strike. So does that mean you're striking someone when you're having sex?
Actually, you are, aren't you?
Last year.
I.e., I would hit that.
No.
No, you're not striking someone.
Yes, you are striking them with your hips in the front of your body, usually.
Unless you're on the opposite end.
Which is also possible. But you are striking each other.
Getting hotter at the second. We're going. Woo! I've seen this on Pornhub.
No, but the aspect of what you're trying to do is you misrepresent.
You were in that one.
I'm trying to show the depth of the ideas behind the derivative words. If you're trying to say that the words they're derived from doesn't matter, I think you're going to be wrong.
No, derivatives are usually where the word originates from, in the same way that you can derive most of the English words from Latin.
So do the initial root words matter, and are they still part of the overall idea, or are they not?
Most of them, no.
I'll give you an example.
Yes, I can give examples of both.
If I said, please pull back your head, right? And you don't know that who I'm talking to is an archer, you would assume it was a person pulling this part of their body back. Okay. So the root word and the context does matter in these things. It is what I'm pointing out here.
How does it matter in the context? Because
the overall
aspect
context
of morning roll is not an aspect of a point of origin.
You're right. It's not a point of origin.
Because as you can see with down there, it translates it with the aspect of Palestinia, Philistine, with the aspect of Pelesheth. You've got it down in the translation there. Yeah. So Pelesheth is the correct aspect of what you're saying, not Peleshah.
Okay, well, you decide what should have been written there.
Look right there on your screen. The King James translates strong in the following manner: Palestinia, Philistia, and Philistine. Therefore, Pelesheth is the correct way to put it.
Well, then why do they have it Pilishti? You tell me why all of these scholars are wrong.
Then look at the King James translation. Scroll a little bit down, please.
Sure.
$5. Thank you very much. It's also used in Philistine
of course. There's root words.
Went past it. But it's actually used as an immigrant.
Yes.
So it's actually in the context of an immigrant, not as an
Yes, that's what I said. It's part of the idea is migratory. Yes. Immigrating. Yes, that's correct.
Now go back to Pelesheth, and that will actually show you that it's an identification of a person. The aspect of when you refer to them as a Peleshi is when they are in transition, not where they are.
A singular individual performing an act of rolling. That is what I said in the first place.
No, go back. Back one screen.
Working on it. Hold on. And you want me to go where on this one?
One
The
more tab
definition,
down. There you go.
You
Back
trying
up.
to say back that asterisk? Though?
What does this read right here? Rolling, i.e. migratory. It is literally the definition.
Scroll a little bit more up. About
Why?
5
That's
more mils.
usage. I don't care about usage. There's a context here I'm pointing out. I don't care how they interpret. You want to keep going. They interpreted it. I don't care.
Oh, look, the land of the summers.
Sojourners. That word is sojourners, meaning travelers, i.e. rolling migratory. That's why it's based in the idea of rolling, and the derivative word means migratory. And why they're using it, land of sojourners, is because it means rolling migratory. You understand that? I mean, you're just pissed at me for some reason. You just don't want to read the paper. That's fine.
I've read it. But the aspect of it, the definition is an act of mourning and perhaps to roll in within the aspect of a palichas as a territory in the southern Mediterranean coast.
And Richard,
it's an origin.
Have a final response to that. In fact, have your final response to Beamsy, because we are about to question him on Revelation. But what is your wrap up to the back and forth we've just been having?
Call me stupid, but don't call me dishonest.
I will call you both.
See, that wasn't necessary.
It's an honest opinion.
And I love both of you.
Okay, well, it's not a respectable, honest opinion. I wrote a very serious paper. There is a continuous context in it. It does stick to the definitions. It's not the typical story that you hear from Christians. I call myself a heretic all the time. Thank you all for your time. I appreciate it. Bimsy, James, and above all that, the brains behind this entire show, Amy.
Oh, it's the Gizmo, but also,
Gizmo.
I will take so much credit to
and beyond that,
Thank
Amy.
you so very much, Richard.
I love your show. I appreciate you trying to help Christians see that they're being irrational. I appreciate that.
Oh, well, you got an ally there.
A lot of work.
Right. I'm on your side on that.
Thank you so very much, Richard.
Good night.
And all right, we are going to ask you, Beamsy. We'll have a little bit more fun before I know we got Davegar backstage, but we really want to know. We have been, well, if you would like, because to say anything, but then wrap that up, because we really do. We're interested. Revelation from a god? Divine.
The issue with that is first you've got to define what a god is, and that is a huge bucket of worms that you sometimes don't want to go down to.
Is it ever?
Oh my.
It's the aspect of God with the big G or God with the little g. The God with the little g is the ones that you find in the storybooks, like the Bible, the Torah, the Quran, or the Bhagavad Gita, or on the walls of many of the hieroglyph-based religions. These are things that are limited and are only within stories, and that way they're only within the imagination. So the revelations that you get from that is only within your own mind. And some people would call that a delusion. But the aspect of a true revelation is very doubtful. I would not actually say that anything like that would be possible.
Well, okay, so I heard big G and little g, which we could talk about because I think that separation is interesting. But you are a pantheist.
I'm a Celt.
You're a Celt, okay. Do you believe that you believe a God exists? But then I would ask you, do you believe that the God is a mind? Do you believe that God then is a mind that cares about us?
No and no. If the God actually exists, the God with the big G, it's something that's beyond our understanding, beyond our understanding and experience. I'll try it again. It's something that's beyond our understanding, beyond our experience, and has power that we could never comprehend because it exists outside of the limited aspects of what we live in and what we are.
So we'd never be able to understand it?
unless we progress past it. So if there is something beyond our own existence, then yes, there is a possibility of something there. We're talking about something that could, if they actually did create the universe, then they would have knowledge and understanding and an ability to interact within dimensions that are far beyond what we can actually represent.
So they would be outside of our, dare I use the word, you're saying they transcend our universe.
Transcendence wouldn't be a correct word, because transcendence would be more of something that we can actually accomplish. So we cannot use a label like that on it. It's more in the same way that we cannot see the creation of the universe if the universe itself was actually created. We only have, an easy way to put it is there are actually 3 points within our understanding of the Big Bang. The point which we can observe, the point which we can mathematically prove, and the point that we can hypothesize to.
You on mute, Amy?
Yep, have to do it once a podcast. I believe in the Big Bang. I think there is an expansion event, but my difference would be then, so where does God come in your life? How did you come?
As a
we were
Celt,
talking about Richard. Where have you always been a theist?
I don't know.
Oh yes, if I do remember.
I was born up 16 years ago, so I actually have no memory of before that. But the aspect of whether I'm a theist or not is, again, it's up for debate as a Celt, in the same way that people call me an atheist because I don't believe in an overbearing God. The aspect of being a theist is I have spiritual beliefs, and the aspects of,
if I can interrupt you, the No True Scotsman game is very strong in theistic or especially fundamental circles. You're never going to be unless you believe their specific brand. It's all about brands.
An easy way of putting it is, I don't fall within an atheist because I will not deny that there is a possibility that there could be a God with a big G. I deny all the gods with the little g because they do not fall within reality. Nothing that actually.
Even I don't understand the God with a big G either.
That takes a lot of explaining. I'll probably explain it a bit better in the Discord because it takes a couple hours. Trust me. But
is that normal Celtism, or what is your belief system called?
That's one. I was about to give you a basic overview of the idea. The aspect of a Celt is more an aspect of ancestor worship and the aspect of following a moral principle of that. It was also a following of seasonal transitions, which is why I knew Virgo wasn't actually.
You said that word.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Just.
It's where the blood sacrifices and that came in before the Britons and the Celts went to war and the Romans came in, and the aspect
you would never believe in that. That's silly.
No, nearly all Celts you find won't follow that unless they actually use it as part of Satanism.
And okay, but let's actually, I want to take this in an interesting way. It's almost like your consciousness got restarted 16 years ago. And so we could ask yourself, from that moment, were you an atheist or a theist? You woke up, did you believe in God?
Well, I didn't believe in anything. I couldn't even understand anything.
All right. I would actually say at that point you were an atheist. Now, I know that may be controversial to theists because I even know in Islam some of the times when you convert, they actually call you reverts because they believe everyone, not all Muslims, but different denominations believe that you always really know it. And then when you admit it, you just revert back to it. So take us down. What was the event? I mean, you were a blank slate, so to speak. What happened between then and apparently the revelation that there is a God?
It's more the possibility of a god. I don't say that there is or isn't. That's
So
what
there
makes
could
me-
be.
Yeah, it's more of the possibility, but it's also, this is why a lot of people refer to me as an atheist, because it's more of the concept of something beyond us could exist, but I have no evidence on the contrary or on the positive. So it's just something that is an interesting conundrum.
Well,
It's
I
a-
would just have to say, if I may invite you, like an apologist or a dawa, in the opposite direction, come join the atheism. The water's fine.
I
Gizmo
still
agrees.
follow the aspects of the ancestor worship, as well as I like the principles within Celtism.
Well, hold on one second. You say what do you mean ancestor worship? Because I would say I have a deep appreciation for my ancestors. Not only that, and I think you're already an old Earth person, but it's one of the things that pisses me off about young Earth creationists who quote unquote try to say how much they love tradition, respect our ancestors, and then they eliminate like 90% of their ancestors, which is just pisses me off. But that's a side note. What do you mean by ancestor worship?
The simplest way to put it into modern concept is learn from others' mistakes so you don't make them yourself.
So I could take that, but I wouldn't say that you need religion for that. That sounds like
that's why I said it's not really a religion in the say. It is theism, but it's not a religion. That's where it comes into it, because it's a spiritual aspect to it. But there's no overbearing god within Celtism. That's
so how did you learn about Celtism? Because like I said, like you said, had no beliefs. You don't even know before, but something had to come forward. There had to be a piece of data that became information about God.
No, again, that's like I said, there's no actual god within Celtic belief.
There's no, I mean, I feel
It's
like
the possibility.
Ancestor worship.
I would say not as an insult. I mean this really as the best possible thing. Aren't you a non-believer?
99.9% yes.
I would say because he doesn't actively hold a belief, but I don't think he likes the label of atheist.
No, it's not that. It's the aspect of a non-belief is saying that all gods don't exist. That is one aspect of atheism. I do fall in the
That's hard atheism.
I do fall in the aspect of atheism in one way, but because I follow theistic ideas in the way of I carry my life is partially. It's the way a lot of pagans are. There's no actual overbearing spiritual being behind them. It's more of an aspect of they have principles to their way of life, which actually allows them to be theistic. So theistic is not actually just a god.
Well, oh my. But see, I mean, it just sounds to me, my joke is always when I go sometimes to Jews and I'm like, listen, I don't believe in a God. And the response is like, of course we don't believe in a God. Who does? And you're like, what? You guys are the reason. They're all following your shtick, your guy.
Easier way of putting it is,
okay,
too many people label atheists as anti-gods. That's one thing that is wrong. It's non-theistic would be the best way of putting it.
It's a branding.
No, the true term is non-theistic. The other aspect to it is a theistic person like myself does have a principle in our way of life that is actually following traditions that is actually passed down through an unknown cause.
It almost sounds like what you're saying, and this could happen with Buddhists, is you are basically saying you are a religious atheist. In that,
kind of. That's one way of putting it, yes.
A spiritual atheist, maybe.
A spiritualist would be the best way of putting it, but that's why a spiritualist falls within theism, not an atheist. Because spirituality is a part of theism.
See, but I would still say you're an atheist because unless you're telling me you believe in a God, because that is really the only thing that I think we could have a judgment on whether religion is good or spirituality and all this stuff. But if you think a lowercase or an uppercase G exists, in reality, whether in
you
some
hold
form
that
or
belief,
other, you are a theist. If you're not, I would say you are an atheist. You could say you're an agnostic. You could say you're an atheist.
I can be labeled as an atheist because, like I said, I stand
Welcome
up
aboard.
I do stand up in the aspect of defending against the aspect of God with little g and the misinformation and the incorrect representation of the scientific method. Like
So you're saying you're team science, right? Because that's all I really care about.
I am an astrophysicist and a geologist, so
well, there you go.
yeah.
That's wait, can I ask you, is the world 6,000 years old?
Do you have a pink unicorn flying on your head?
I don't seem to.
Hey, so how long did how
Yes.
long did the global flood last? Was it a full year, or was it only like 9 months?
Oh, don't stop me there. That's my biggest trigger, the flood.
The fucking flood.
Oh, do people not know about the freaking Iraqi floodplain as well as? Sorry.
No,
that's my biggest trigger because every time I see geology and people talking about the Grand Canyon was created in fire, but it's. I'll show you what I.
For geology. Oh, but there's clams found in the closed position. They had to be buried very rapidly in a global flood.
I would ask anyone who says that, do they understand what the Missoula flood is?
Yeah, I'm sure they don't.
There's lots of local floods.
No, that was a very
devastating,
a ginormous flood, the Missoula flood, and it created things. It really carved out the landscape, but it looks nothing like the Grand Canyon.
Yeah,
not at all.
If you look up the Scablands, that's what it did to the area of the land. And that's what a global flood would do to the world, not just...
Gotcha. You would see that everywhere and just not in one place.
That's like Montana, Wyoming, that area of the United States.
Yeah, look up Scablands, and then you'll see what the sheer devastation of flood on that scale would do. And that was just a little flood comparing it to a global flood.
Be one hell of a movie, though.
Oh, yeah. Considering you're talking about a 60, 70-foot wall of water screaming in from the mountains.
Exactly. That's a lot of water. I feel like it'd be a very big visual effects team. Got to have a really good water engine. But okay. Beamsy,
I'm sorry for being too ridiculous with it, but I have to be very ridiculous.
Not at all. Not at all.
Like
it was an interesting discussion.
Exactly.
All right, Amy, you can do it. You can do it again with the spice.
I will say, it's just he who controls the spice does control the universe. If my eyes turn blue and glowing at any time, just you will know. But Beamsy,
she's not shape-shifting back into her lizard form, I promise.
She's lying. She's got the rainbow eyes.
Oh my! Hold on. That's right, baby. That's right.
She's got Betty Davis eyes.
They sparkle. But Beamsy, we have been calling me skeptical on does revelation happen, specifically the divine kind. Hope you had fun. And what are your final thoughts?
I still want to smack my head against the brick wall for someone who can't understand the difference between the two words. I'll link to the...
Might have to have a debate.
I'm going to link something in the chat that you can have a read of to see why he's being misinterpreted. You can read it later. It shows you the big difference of what he's talking about. And it is from Strong, so he can't actually deny what that is.
He certainly has a very unique viewpoint of
that link into chat, just like I did Richard's. So now,
they're two different links. One is the aspect of Palish, and the other one is the difference. How he's misdefining the words.
And all right, I'll send the next one. But if that's your final thought, Beamsy, it's been lovely having you.
Oh, it's never going to be my final thought.
Go ahead.
It's never going to be my final thought, but I'll do for now.
I know how you feel. Sometimes I'm the queen of gab. And all right, Beamsy, thank you so very much for joining us and calling me skeptical. Feel free to join us on the after
Thank
show
you.
on Discord. But we are moving on and having more fun. It was lovely having you on.
I'll torment you later.
Oh my.
Oh, please do.
Well, I've got my own leather chain, so it's down for it.
Promises, promises. Woohoo! Sending love, Anna.
Davegar.
Davegar has been waiting patiently. Lovely to have you on. And Davegar, we've actually been calling me skeptical. We've been looking for revelation. Does revelation happen from a god? What do you think?
Hello. Hey guys. Yeah,
Hey,
how's the
Davegar.
audio? Can you guys hear me okay?
Sounds pretty
We
good.
hear you good, yeah.
Hey, yeah. Anyway, yeah, it's a pleasure to talk to you both. Yeah, it's I wanted to talk to you about the nature of revelation. Yeah, I'm obviously an agnostic. I'm much like Beamsy, most likely than not, the Christian God doesn't exist. But
He does not exist. No.
Yeah. Yeah, I was in the Presbyterian church I was literally indoctrinated into it. And during my time in the church, I had two experiences which I thought were genuine revelations from God. And I just wanted to know if you and your audience maybe wanted to hear about that.
Hells
And
yeah.
then I have, just to bring it back on topic to, genuine, what a person would think would be a revelation.
How long have you been out of the church?
Since formally since well, I guess I never formally left the church. I guess I'm still on their rolls and stuff. I don't know.
Wait, hold on.
2004 though.
3,
2004.
2, 1. That was my celebration. You've done it. No.
When did you stop believing? Since 2004. Okay.
Yeah. I'm older than you, James.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Yeah, but anyway.
And can I ask?
Absolutely.
You said so. Actually, I was almost going to do a spoiler. I want to know eventually what made you convinced otherwise. But you were saying that you thought that there was two forms of revelation, so you caught our interest.
Well, no, I had two different revelations, which I
experiences, I guess,
at the time were from God. And it's interesting listening to some apologetics, because one of them was a special revelation, the first one, and then the other one was actually a naturalistic one.
Ooh.
So I don't know. I think I've been teasing you guys enough.
Would
you like me to go into it?
Oh, absolutely.
Do it to her. Give it to her.
No.
My goodness. Anyway, wow, this is.
We won't tell your wife.
Actually, explaining. Yeah, I know. James, you egg on people, but when it's actually happening, it's gosh, I'm literally blushing now. Anyway, let's get to it.
We're just sending so much love.
Yeah, so it's the early 90s. I'm in my early teens, and of course, I'm at a Presbyterian Christian camp. I've already been indoctrinated into it. I completely believe in the God. And then they go in hard on in the sermon earlier in the day about revelation and the book of life, like a literal book of life. And this was at a Christian camp, and it was in the Poconos of Wisconsin. The thing about this camp is the water there tasted like sulfur. It was literal sulfur water. So it tasted nasty. Everyone was dehydrated. So here I am in a camp in the top bunk of a cabin in the middle of the summer, while dehydrated, sweating my ass off.
Whew.
Nobody wants to drink.
Yeah,
Water tastes terrible.
After that, I have a vision of my name. Spoiler alert, it's not Davegar. Being written into a literal stone book of life.
Oh my.
In fire. So it's extra awesome like that, you know?
Holy, like
the Ten Commandments style.
I was gonna
God
say,
writing it in
yeah,
stone.
absolutely. 10 Commandments. That's honestly,
yeah.
The Cecil B. That's still one of my favorite movies.
Cecil B. DeMille.
But see,
it was a good movie.
Absolutely, Vincent Price was acting his ass off. Edwin G. Robinson, like everyone talks about, like Charlton Heston, but everyone around him was doing excellent. Yul Brynner.
It was a good cast.
Oh my god.
Game.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we're getting off topic. So I mean, and after that, I weep. I literally break down and weep on the top bunk of my bed, in the top of like in a cabin, you know.
You're like 13, 14, right in there.
Yes, I'm around that age. I literally weep and I start just repeating to myself, Jesus Christ is Lord, over and over and over again.
Oh. Like you were training to be one of the seraphim from Psalms.
And can I ask, was that before that you were a believer, not a believer, but a believer?
Yes, I was completely indoctrinated into it. I had no choice.
Daydream.
It's so interesting when you talk to people that started out as atheists, because I mean, I most certainly did not have that experience growing up.
I was an apathetic theist.
that just wasn't an option.
Yeah.
Until I literally developed the tools to get out of that. But it was difficult to do that after having such a profound experience. You know, literally breaking down, repeating over and over again, Jesus Christ is Lord. And looking back at,
that's what I was gonna say. It almost and I feel like you almost set it up so that we could we could see. The environment is the perfect for having something like that to occur.
It's
like the Jesus Camp movie. Like everybody is.
Yeah, it's exactly like that. I mean, I saw that back when it came out and everything. And yes,
and it's scary.
I had most certainly an experience.
I never went to one of those camps, but it was something that they talked about, but I never actually went on ones. Can't share that experience.
I will say, contrasting it with the Jesus Camp movie, this was more about this camp was more about God, the theology, and just giving literally your parents like a week off from having to deal with you. rather than being political.
That might be why my parents sent me to Hebrew school.
It might be.
You guess? Yeah, no, that's definitely what happening.
Okay, but so that made you more of a believer than ever before. So
yes, I mean it really reinforces the belief. I mean, looking back on it,
you did have a vision, or at least the
you're in an echo chamber. Everybody there, they all think the same as you. They're all, in that same zone, in that mindset, and.
And just the nature of revelation is just the predisposition to believe it in the first place.
Sure.
Like, I believe I would have never have had a vision of my name being written in a stone fucking book in fire without having been, introduced to that concept in whatever verse of Revelation that was earlier in the day.
Not to go back to a subject and go completely aliens, but I'm always skeptic when people give me the look of it that ends up looking like the movies, because it just seems like a lot of our positions are very influenced by the media that we absorbed, whether as a child or right now. And not saying that it wouldn't happen like that and that they aren't grayish, big-eyed aliens who want to shove things up our butt. I guess the exact opposite.
Don't get too excited, Amy.
I know, which is funny. The exact opposite of the Abrahamic religions. I guess I know which ones I'm sticking with. But
Amy's like, "Come on, guys, you haven't abducted me yet. Come on, what do I have? What does the girl have? What does the girl have to do?"
That is at least one data point that those versions of aliens do not exist. But before we get off topic, Davegar, you were at that. I mean, that is as close to we always ask for a data point, and it's easy to look back at the time, but this doubled down, enforced your belief. But now take us forward.
So there was another.
Said you had another.
Yeah. The next one, it isn't. I mean, it's the first one would be more of like a special type revelation, and I never really understood like the different categories. But after like listening to some apologetics, like
general and special
revelation, that would the first one would most certainly been a special revelation. The next one isn't as sexy, so I'll just go quickly through it.
Oh my!
No, I was at church in Dallas, and what we're doing is we were remembering people that had died the previous year. An elder in the church who I respected had died that previous year, and all during the ceremony when we were remembering them, like we said their names and like a bell tolled and stuff, really dumb shit. And it was interesting because it was just like a really mighty wind happened at that time. I wasn't in the sanctuary at the time. I was like an usher, so like the plate person with the money, and we had the doors open, and it was just a major wind through the narthex of
Augusta wind.
The church. Yeah, from nothing beforehand. This is springtime, and during that time, and my father was there. This was about 4 years after the first revelation. I was still in the Presbyterian church.
Later teens.
And yeah, it was just an amazing coincidence. It was a major wind while we were there doing the ceremony, and then it died down before, and then we passed the plates around, and that's about it.
That's like remember, Amy, when we were talking to Sal, and he said he had that vision in the church when he was younger.
Yeah, I remember. I remember watching
Sal
that.
Cordova.
Like, he said Christ literally came down off the cross in fire or something.
Yeah,
mine
he had a vision
like
during the church.
Mine was more of an airbending one, I suppose.
And everything, I assume, was good in your priesthood until the Fire Nation attacked. What?
Exactly. I was in my teens then, and an experience like that, as an amazing coincidence as it could have been, is something that would, when you're already, and this comes to the main point of the nature of revelation, is that you already have to be predisposed and open to it.
Sure.
In order to experience it. Like the idea of pareidolia is similar to it, like where you see faces and things. Well, here's where you see God in what is ostensibly an amazing coincidence.
Well, and then I think believers, when you have that faith, but I think they're always searching in the external world, looking for signs of God. They're like looking for any dots they can connect, anything they can credit for God, or they're basically looking for evidence, even though they wouldn't use that terminology. They're looking to see their faith manifested in reality, and they will just a lot of times latch on to almost anything they can, whether coincidence or not. It's going to be meaningful to them. Like I've heard preachers say, like, "Oh, well, I know God is real because how I met my wife, and I was in this city, and this crazy circumstance of events happens, and we end up, getting stuck in an elevator, we're on the same subway car." Just like, okay, I mean, people meet people all the time. It doesn't necessarily mean, I'm glad it worked out for you and you guys fell in love and have a family, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's God. But yeah.
And all right, so take us down, I would say, to the final step. You've had, in your opinion, you had a revelation that was
2 revelations.
well, I would say one
A
revelation
profound,
that was
personal.
more visual from a hallucinatory standpoint, because
A
you
dream-like state. Maybe.
but that was almost
it's more likely a thing that was most likely brought on by just intense study and then environmental factors of heat and dehydration.
exactly sure. And then I would say
A
you
dreamlike
had
state,
another
maybe.
vision that you would say, I would say it's a correlation that you were basically, it felt like the Holy Spirit or some kind of force was in that wind.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember specifically saying that I felt like that guy's spirit was on the wind at that time.
Is that kind of like the wind of God that Kenneth Copeland said in February of 2020 that was going to blow COVID away? How did that
Oh
prediction?
my gosh!
How did that work out for you, Ken?
Well, I mean, it kind of did work out, because if you watch the whole thing, James, he actually was advocating for vaccines at that time.
Oh,
if you actually watch
like a year and a half ahead of
him
himself.
spitting into his hands type things. He's like, I want vaccines now. Vaccines now.
Trying to do magic tricks.
And now he's like isn't he? I can only assume he's like a big anti-vaxxer, thinking it's the mark of the beast and such, in order to
there's going to be chips in there.
From the New World Order, not the old World Order. They went out of business.
Mind control chips. They're going to turn you gay and have you worshiping Satan.
Exactly. It just does in order to retain.
They'll make Amy straight. They'll make Amy straight.
Oh my.
Yeah.
I always
that's
say,
got to be a powerful chip.
As someone bi/pansexual, I don't really know which way is up, way even straight would be. But I will take it either way. But I have said they love Davegar. Let's take us to the final point. I've actually enjoyed this, but you had two revelations, and
yes, that really reinforced my faith.
Exactly. Yes. Well, and we're always asking for empirical evidence and stuff. At least you are coming forward with miracles that happen to you. A lot of times we'll get people, they don't want to even explain what their miracles are. They really, I'm always, let's just say, like the example at the beginning, if you believe because you survived a car accident, well, I'm glad you're alive, first of all. That's really all that matters to me. But number two, that is not evidence that God is real, nor should your shtick become genetics. But we're just sending love to all theists of the world out there, no matter who you are. But
Amy survived a car accident.
Well, that is why I use that so much, because I survived it. Number one, why did I survive it? What was the main factor, in my opinion, in surviving it? Seatbelts. Really as simple as that. I think if I didn't wear my seatbelt, I would have died. And because I wore my seatbelt, I walked away. It's not even but you can see the stitch sometimes in my eyebrow, the scar.
Right.
That's it. That's all I walked away with. So thank you, science. Thank you to the person who called 911, I assume.
Paramedics and the doctors.
Then the doctors who actually, took me in and then eventually did the test so I could get put on medicine. But that is here nor there. It's almost like the two counter examples. We're sending love, Davegar. Unless we get, I think, another opposing view or something, we're about to wrap up. But I really want to know. Get us there. Oh, my. Get us there from two revelations to an agnostic.
I will say that's going to be another podcast.
Oh, okay.
And I'm sorry to tease, but you know what? I'm going to tease. No, Amy, yes.
Why not, Davegar? Do it.
You and James equally. However, no, I will leave you with a nice concluding thought that will actually bring back the previous conversation.
That sounds great.
Oh yeah, and you both are going to be very impressed by this. It's interesting. You're the last two people that were talking. They were
Beamsy and
talking
Richard.
about. They were really talking about like literal translations from the Hebrew, and what things meant in today's context, and things like that. And considering your podcast is about Revelation, I'm extremely surprised that the Hebrew term bat kol did not turn up. Do you guys know what that means? Bat kol? BAT space KOL. Oh, it means the word of God.
My Hebrew's a little rusty.
it's from the book of Job, actually. And I'm surprised. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that would be a very relevant term with your two previous persons. I forget his name. The guy
Beamsy and Richard.
Yeah,
Richard.
Yeah, he didn't bring up that term bat kol. But that's the interesting thing about the Hebrew language, because bat kol it really means like the literal word of God, but it can also mean whisper of the daughter.
Oh,
and that's just the interesting thing about
multiple
the Hebrew
meanings.
language is that but not just like multiple meanings, like word of God to whisper of the daughter. It's a very interesting thing. So if you actually Google bat kol, like the third thing that you get is the Orthodox Jewish Lesbian Association.
Oh my.
Yes. And they have really, I can appreciate good commercial design. They have like two daisies next to each other. They look like the international symbol of women, and they're also flowers. Yeah. So
female rabbis.
It's kind of interesting when people are talking about this is the Jewish, this is not the Jewish, this is the Hebrew language, and this is how it's supposed to be interpreted. It's just the nature of that language. It's not what it exactly appears to be. So, and much like a revelation from God, how we know what was in the Old and New Testament, mostly from the Greek and the Hebrew, is extremely malleable. And I will.
That's the nature.
I mean, going from the Word of God to the modern day Orthodox Jewish Lesbian Association, I think it is extremely funny. So
yes, we're making progress.
That's the nature of these texts.
Yes, indeed, and
translation,
if the God entity does indeed exist, this would also be part of his plan. So.
All part of the plan,
that's
Davegar.
The Calvinism in me coming out. So, anyway,
well, thank you so very much.
You can't.
I hope I brought it back for you guys. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Absolutely,
and I want to thank everyone. I'm a patron.
Long-term supporter,
like a senator or someone. Sounds pretty racist.
Senator Cato.
He became a patron. He or she or they became a patron.
I believe it's a he.
Yeah. Considering I became a patron very early, you guys have been putting out pretty regular content for it's
over a year
since I've been a patron. I think I started like on Bible study episode 6, and they're like on 50 something. So if you're out there, these guys are worth it.
If I could show my age for a second, isn't that cray?
Oh boy.
The fact that we are almost at episode 60 or 62, almost 63.
You realize that getting through the whole Bible, you guys are going to be, if you guys end on episode 666, that's going to be pretty epic. But I mean, who are we kidding? It's going to be episode.
We could easily do it.
Goals.
Yeah, we're just in Deuteronomy, and we're like a quarter of the way to that. So.
No, I actually really appreciate the Bible studies. That's probably my favorite thing that you guys do. So,
thank you.
If you're out there, these guys, I just want to say that these guys are worth it. Definitely consider becoming a patron.
Thank you, Davegar. Appreciate it.
Thank you so very much, Davegar. And I can't help it reminding us that, well, the world kind of is, or the Bible is kind of a flat earth text. I can't say it enough. The Quran, they all kind of. Thank
And
you so.
just because you have a vision doesn't mean it's real.
That's true. That is very true. And also, you can get out, ladies and gentlemen. The lovely agnostic atheist club. The water is fine.
She doesn't bite.
But send in love, Davegar. Thank you so very much. And I can't help it. You teased us, you know. So that means now you have to come on to the next podcast and tell us why you became a non-believer.
Yeah, when I have the time for it, or when the topic seems especially germane, I most certainly will.
We'll set it up with Gizmo.
I'll tease even more. It's not a good story. So.
Oh boy.
Well, I will be the judge of that because we're just sending so much love to you, Davegar.
Yes,
in fact,
thank you
for coming on and tell us your story.
You're most very welcome.
Thanks, Davegar. Have a good night.
And with that, I'm going to put the link on screen and back in chat for like 10 more minutes. And so we'll discuss the topic. But if you disagree with us especially, now is the time to get in and tell us why, because we're going to be headed into the after show on Discord.
Shane is sad, Amy. I said you don't bite, but you didn't get to finish it.
Oh my, that's right. Only if you're into that.
Yeah, there you go.
Or into leather. What are we talking about?
A slipper of 20, and yeah, there you go. She does take tips.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, well, I was gonna say that would get you a grand handshake, but no, tips, sure, absolutely.
Or a nibble.
But we are sending love. Senator Cato says, God saved you, Amy, according to the theist. That's right. Listen. He saved me. It was a slice of pizza, but I really think it's the thought that counts. That's really the only thing that matters. Scapegoat says, don't make Amy straight. Bad guy. Bad. That's right.
That would be, well, actually, it would be the devil with the New World Order chips through the vaccines, so.
It's terrible how they get you in there and then all of a sudden you have 5G. I also find the notion that you could use 5G as like a threat. Like, oh no, you'll have service anywhere? I mean, where do I get that shit?
Faster download speeds?
I know. I think that's just a misunderstanding of technology. But hey, who knows?
Like, it is I think that it does cause a little bit more heating than some of the 4G, but really you would only notice that if you were within feet of the tower.
But is that also going to keep on continuing? Is like 6G going to be like just total Satanism? My gosh, if you thought 5G was going to take us over.
You remember 2009 or when they did it was like 2010.
Old enough to remember when they were
DTV.
Pushing the 2000s were the 1999 flip over was going to be the end. Yeah, Y2K.
Now this is the DTV conversion when they got rid of the analog television signals, and a lot of people who didn't have cable, they had to buy the DTV converter boxes, and people were saying that the government, they've got cameras in there so the New World Order can monitor your
the old world order.
Yeah, always the New World Order.
It's always about marketing. You gotta
some people actually like opened these things up and like planted cameras in there and then repackaged it because they then they would open it up for the video like, oh, I wonder what's inside this thing. Then they open it up and then there's like a camera in there, but the way that they mounted it would not, it wouldn't, nobody would mount a camera like that. It was obviously fake, but yeah. Anyway.
And sending love from Carol the 406 Atheist. Don't know why it took me so long, but I recently watched you on Neil the 604 Atheist Deconversion Stories. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Thanks. And I am just sending love right back to Carol and Neil. Both fantastic. Go watch. I have a deconversion
numbers.
stories, but the show in general of Neil going through different non-believers deconversion stories are fantastic. So please go check them out.
Good stories. Good stories.
So many awesome non-believers, and you notice that the more non-believers that I name, you would expect like there would be some kind of schism or some kind of really big, I don't know, non-believer
battle
war, and yet
not so much.
It just seems like you herd cats. Generally speaking, all we want to be, just don't tell us what to believe in, unless you have an example for why. Why is actually the most important part, because I find that it's actually very easy to say what. People can say what they believe.
That's true.
All day. Shane Billowitz says, Amy doesn't bite?
Yeah,
that's disappointing. That's right, baby. Only if you're into that or if he or she has been a good boy or girl.
So coming up, what do we got coming up? At some point, we need to put Standing for Truth in the hot seat. He's been putting out a lot of content. I've already warned him. He's due for
just
the hot seat.
Send in a shout out to our very own James W., who debated the Dr. Dino. So please, if you
last Tuesday,
that's right.
It'll be on our channel soon. It'll be on our channel very soon.
And I'm interested. I'm almost tempted to do one where we just upload the debate and then we just have it as like a premiere. And then I'm interested maybe to have like
an autopsy.
An autopsy. Maybe do both.
That's why we'll upload it raw. Live. We'll upload it raw. That way, if people just want to watch it without our bantering, but then we can upload it. Maybe we can
scoops.
Yeah, do an autopsy. Just so, just for Kent's sake, because he obviously had so much fun during that debate.
And I thought it was a good debate. It's worth both watching and dissecting.
Kent seemed to have fun during that debate. He was getting riled up, which he was actually getting animated. Thank you, Senator. Yeah, I thought my teasing might get a little bit of a rise out of him, but he really rose up.
Well, like I said, there were the two best things I think of the debate were the religious digs that he could not answer without making him sound ridiculous. It really was the thing where
he's not used to that.
Exactly is he couldn't answer them because if you start to, you have to go into the logistics of the Noah story that I really don't think that he wants to defend unless it's the only thing that is on the topic, because even though that is the linchpin, because of his religion, he would believe in evolution, the Big Bang, all the rest. And then the second was when you didn't take digs at him per se until he took digs at you. And I always say, and I think both of us here, we do well if we could pat ourselves in the back. We don't punch down, but you do have to sometimes throw punches when people throw punches.
You have to, yeah, definitely.
And so I thought you
got to defend yourself, but
exactly,
But not for ad hominem, not for.
And then if I could do a preview, it is official, ladies and gentlemen. I
slavery
think a little bit of slavery. On the 28th, I and Gavin and I will be debating round number 2 on Praise I Am That I Am's channel. I believe it's on the nature or presenting evidence for the supernatural, which I'm very open for. I don't think there's any good evidence for there, a lot of hearsay, but I'm open to having my mind changed.
We got you, Davegar.
We'll commentary. Oh yeah. Coming up. I think that's going to be. We'll do that almost in a marathon style.
Because I think I had a little bit in my doorknob.
And so that's the only reason, but I think it's going to be great. We'll basically do a premiere and then where people can chat. But then I think we need to have a live commentary as well as showing what people want to say on screen. So we'll do both. But if you disagree with us on the topic, call me skeptical. Does Revelation happen? You got like 5 minutes and then we're heading to the after show. We'll give you time to speak if you join, but if not, we've actually had 3 speakers on tonight, and I think it's been fun. Do you have anything else that you wanted to think of while we're talking, James, about Revelation? Did you have any?
God bless
Revelation
Dr.
moments?
Dino, Ralph. God bless.
That's right.
No, I never had anything I would consider revelation, anything like that. Nope.
I see comments. I gotta.
Yeah. Punt speed jump, Davegar. I'm MST3K.
So we'll just
big,
say
large, huge.
From Untoven says jelly wrestling and a kitty. I don't think that's. My joke is always that Kent is a science teacher. He very specifically teaches physics, and he's about to have one of his experiments peer reviewed by a jury of his peers. So it's going to be great. Idea for the debate.
He's still appealing his case. Yeah.
Right. We are going to do it live.
And the SFT said that was the largest live audience he's had in a long, long time for one of his debates. I was surprised. There was over almost 500 people in that watching. That was amazing.
A lot of people in chat as well, and Bubble and I were going back and forth.
I saw that.
Time,
Bubble saying I got destroyed by Kent. Of course, Bubble would say that. We love you, Bubble.
We love you, Bubble. We all love all of our theist brothers and sisters. James
commentary.
Says, thanks for my bi-weekly therapy with you guys. Sending so much love to James Wolfe out there. We love doing this. It is so much fun, and it is just great to actually hear
therapy for us
people's
too.
Comments. Exactly. I would say it's very cathartic. Yeah, you talked to what is up? How's the comments? Is God bless.
Yeah, Ralph.
We have what is up, Rachel? Sending love. But we're about to wrap up. I think we've been having fun. I will be sending, I think, the Discord link into chat if anyone would like to join us. Did you say you did or you didn't have any revelation? Because I've had I didn't have any revelation. The only thing I've ever thought was that was the stereotypical. We've gone over this, before. I found my keys when I couldn't find my keys.
Right.
But even that,
I think
it was because I was looking. If I had stopped looking and didn't pray, it would have not found the keys. It wasn't until I physically looked I found the keys.
I mean, I think when you're a believer, there are times when you pray for things like that, and sometimes it happens. So when that happens, you can maybe attribute that to God, or just maybe sometimes you get lucky, or something really bad could have happened to you, but it didn't. And of course, in that instance, you say, "Hey, God must have been watching out for me." What's the phrase like? "But for the grace of God, there go I." When you see somebody, do something stupid and make a mistake, yet they bad stuff happens to them, and then but you've done that before. Nothing bad happened to you. You always got lucky. I think that happened to a lot of us, especially in our younger days, because young kids think they're invisible. You end up doing a lot of stuff, and if you don't end up dying from it, you can say, "Hey, God was watching out for me."
And the joke is
like
always,
confirmation bias.
You get a random debuff when you hit 30, but until when you're young, you don't have anything. So yeah, like you were saying, you feel like you could jump off, you could do parkour and not get hurt.
And you say, "Hey,
do anything."
Yeah, or miraculous, or well, not miraculous, but life-altering events, like when you have a child or something like that just really alters the way you look at at the world and everything. Just gives you that spiritual kind of feeling.
Woo. All right, I think our producer is like, wrap this up, ladies and gentlemen. I do want to say House of Comments is asking when's the next show. We do about 2 or 3 shows a week. I think
Either tomorrow or Tuesday, maybe.
We're trying to work out schedules. I think we're building one. The call-in shows, I think,
We've
are going to
been doing them on Sunday.
Towards the weekend, exactly. And then we're going to have more open mics during the weekdays, as well as some videos, debates, and the Q&A show is in development. That's going to be next. I have to work with our Patreons to get some. I think what we're going to do is a private stream in which our Patreons can ask questions and make funny comments. We're going to record that, and then that stream we're going to premiere for everyone. And so it'll be a great thing. It's like the community helping the community, and everyone gets more content no matter who you are. And so, yeah, in the works, like we said, more debates and stuff.
More to come. Then when we break 1,000 subscribers, we get channel memberships going.
That's right. We have
That'll be amazing.
Badges already in the works and all sorts of fun stuff. And
at the Girl Dick Commander Girl Dick level.
Only at the Commander Girl Dick level.
For one of one of Amy's favorite Christian pastors in the world. Who would that be, Amy?
Oh, we're taking down Pastor Bob, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's on the hot seat. I actually think we're also going to start doing more polls, because I really would like to know what apologists bother you guys the most.
What arguments bother you guys the most?
Who do you think caused the most harm to our society at large? And I think
the worst arguments
James and I want to start focusing on. So we'll look forward to a whole bunch of more fun, but I don't think anyone else is going to come on the channel tonight, because I think it's been good though. So if you
we had over 30 people at 1 a.m. on a Sunday night, hey.
And I'm also sending in the link into Discord.
They seem to be pretty popular. Doorknob Head. They do seem to be pretty universally popular.
Mm-hmm. It's true. It's true. Boobs do make everything better. I do like a man's toned chest, but I also do like a big set of boobs. And like I said, it's the bane of having your sexuality in the same department as Deadpool, which tends to be yes. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we've been calling me skeptical. I think
thanks so much, guys.
It's been so much fun.
We're about to call it.
That's right. I hope you had a fun time on this episode of Call Me Skeptical. Does revelation happen? Where tonight we opened up the internet phone lines to see if anyone can help us understand, does revelation happen? Or rather, does a God communicate information to humans?
Beam it to your head.
No. For some divinely inspired fun. That's right. It's beamed. Boo, 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 boo. But only if you make the sound effects. If you don't go woo, it doesn't work.
Oh, like Star Trek.
Exactly. And Harry Potter in real life. You know, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh.
Put up more science stuff and increase the Flash Gordon noise.
But I do want to thank my co-host, James W., along with our guests, Richard, Beamsy, and Davegar, along with the people in chat, our awesome mods who make this stream so great, and of course, lovely viewers like you who make this channel even possible.
He's watching you, Doorknob Head.
Yeah, the producer, he has his sights at all times. You would think that God would, but he apparently doesn't come down and tell us that.
He's more omnipresent.
But if you're feeling fancy, please don't forget, and you enjoyed the show, please don't forget to like, follow, or subscribe, because then you gain access to that bell icon, which when set to
Good night,
all,
Scapegoat.
sends you reminders to join our live streams. Night, Scapegoat. Or hey, leave a comment once the video's done. After the show, we will be heading over to the Skeptic and Ranting Discord server, the link of which is in the description below. Lastly, if you'd like to help us make even more content, we offer some perks for our supporters by checking out our Patreon at patreon.com/Amy Newman. I
night,
am
guys.
Amy Newman, and we will see you all on the next episode of Skeptic Ball Z. Good night, everyone.
Good night, Davegar. Good night, Richard.